It was a bloody fog, a sea of blood, and all that the main character saw was blood. His comrades in arms at the end, he was the only one left. Many monsters appeared, and one of them was surprised that our main character, whom everyone called the great god of the human race, was so worthless. And he doesn't even know how to fight artificially, and he can only hide behind the garbage. The demon understood that an ordinary person could not defeat him. This person was Qin Feng. The main character understood that everything was in vain. He is the god of pills. He lived a long, good life. And what about 1,000 years? And during all this time, I did not even delve into the very basic area of U200B U200B martial arts. He realized that he was left without help and forced to watch as his comrades continued to struggle. In desperation, he decided to use a special pill. After accepting it, he felt new strength in himself and called on everyone to attack him. Today, he decided to fight these demons to the end. Suddenly, his chest was pierced and he realized that this was the end of his current life. He had an impregnable body and mastered the heights of alchemy, but his body could not be cultivated. He felt like a worthless weakling. If he had the opportunity to be reborn, he would definitely improve his martial art and correct the mistakes of this life on the path to exaltation. Suddenly, the main character woke up on the bed and was surprised to find himself in an unfamiliar place. While seeing the amulet on your neck, he remembered that he had returned. This was when Lin made it so that he could no longer master martial arts, equal to 100,000 years ago. Before the past, he was a hero on his knees. He told the girl that he had won, and she is his fiancée, so he didn't understand why she was trying to kill him. She explained that she entered into a marriage contract with him 3 years ago in order to temporarily join his family. And now she has risen to the 3rd level. She called him a bastard. After all, he was unworthy of her. In his past life, his martial arts were exhausted. He had no choice but to focus on alchemy. Even though he had reached his peak in alchemy, it was still not enough. He understood that if he could practice martial arts, the tragedy with the invasion of the Diwan clan on the continent would have happened in his past life. If he could fix everything, a human being would not die. Thanks to this jade pendant that was now on his neck, he had a chance to start over. He understood that he needed to focus on becoming stronger in alchemy or martial arts. He should completely cope. The very next day, his assistant came to see the main character, who said that they were doing badly. When he asked him what happened, the man explained that Lin was the eldest son of the family, burst into the medical garden and declared that he wanted to see him. This guy is the commander of the Qin family medical garden guard. The main character remembered this moment. In a past life, he came to ask for management of the medical garden and take the opportunity to humiliate the main character. Travel pressure forced him to agree. After that, in a hurry to leave the family and personally alone for 10 years. A family of rats and snakes, so he decided to go to the guy's garden and deal with him. Lin smiled and said that his sister had achieved significant success in martial arts. If he does not give him the garden, then he will be in trouble. The guy also asked the main character to be prudent. Otherwise, at some point he will kneel down and beg for his mercy, then it will be too late. The main character answered him that if he is hiding behind his younger sister, then he should be ashamed. According to his marriage contract, this medical garden was supposed to come to his Lin family. But now that the marriage contract has been terminated, and he should note, they returned then, and what they themselves refused. Lin replied to the hero that he was not as good as others in theirs, and besides, I would get grass for the competition. If only his younger sister had not laughed and entered into a marriage contract with him, he would have been killed by now. The main character answered him something and even tried to attribute his younger sister here. Looks like the family has something to do. Then the soldiers pointed their weapons at the guy. He understood that it seemed that the hero was still submissive and calm. But for some reason, something is wrong with him today. But still, there is only 1 month left until the new alchemist competition. The main character did not understand what this mention was for. But Lin asked the main character if he had enough balls to make a bet with him if he could take away this year's award. Then he was ready to give him their family iron mine. And if he loses, then this beautiful medical garden will go to his location. The assistant was funny about this. The man also wanted to get a medical school, but their young master is stupid. Anyone with any brains will not agree to such a bet. But still, the hero agreed with this, after which the assistant was simply shocked. Well, the main character continued and asked which guy would be a pussy or a conditional one. The guys signed a contract. Before leaving, the man answered the main character that the medical garden is not what the stupid and distributive young master answers. The hero's assistant was simply shocked by his master. The blood of their family is also finished. Yes, and the young master is of age, but he is still such a child. But he asked the hero, he's not a child. When the time comes, this bastard will be on his knees. It was the smile of a child 100,000 years old. Later, the guy came to his room and started cultivating. Well, he suddenly started bleeding from his mouth. He realized that his strength had dropped to the blood key level of level 1. He still has perspective. With the perfection of magical technique, he solved the problem of loss of blood and ki. The warrior has 6 kingdoms. The chi and blood realm of the former is the weakest. Each kingdom is divided into 9 levels. In his life, he lost his cultivation base because he was also attacked by his fiancée. Since then, he has not been able to practice martial arts. Fortunately, he now retained his basic cultivation. With the help of the technique of rebirth of gods, thanks to it, he saved his foundation for the development of martial arts. God transfiguration is a special technique that he discovered in his past life. The effect is to enhance the perception of the 6 senses. This technique may seem mediocre, but people who practice the technique from their previous life have become popular figures. It was then that he discovered that there was an unknown power hidden in this technique. Even though life passed, he could not practice martial arts, but he still kept it in his mind. Who would have thought that she would cut him now? An assistant ran into the room and reported that a disaster had happened. The guys came back to the medical kindergarten. The assistant said that news had just arrived that the time for collecting medications would be postponed to earlier than planned, and the collector will arrive in 10 days. But for some reason, their grass withered. Even if they create all the necessary conditions for growing herbs, they will not have time to deliver them on time. Unexpectedly, either the main character's assistant decided to use transformation. The main character felt harmful grass in the garden and did not understand where it came from here. The main character understood that most likely it was made by a tench. He took the grass, and it now became clear to him why he dared to make a bet with him. He thinks that Lin managed to argue with you in your absence, but it was a wonderful gift from him. 10 days later, the family met the herbalist. The main character has already arrived. Who was surprised that the guys came so early in the morning? Lin was surprised that heroine knelt in front of the herbalist as a sign of greeting, and he's actually trying to do something. This is clearly a sign of disrespect. The collection of herbs gave the main character a chance to apologize. That is, it was the collector of medicinal herbs from the main branch of the Qin family. The main character's assistant immediately knelt down and also asked his young master to repeat his actions after him. After all, the last time they got angry with the herbalist, their medical garden was fined triple the norm. But the main character sent the herbalist away. After all, he is just a herbalist and cannot have any official powers. He's just a spoiled chicken, and he is full with him from the herb collector must bring him to his knees. The collection asked the main character what this attitude towards him was. Where does he get such arrogance from? And does the main character want to tell him that the lichens are already ready? He said that according to the practice of past years, there are a lot of herbs and they are all ready for collection. The collection warmed up because no one said that this year was similar to the previous one, and he also told him that the standard for obtaining medicines had been raised second. Now, with his behavior, he has increased his number to 2. If he cannot pay him the norm, then he will lose his head. The main character's assistant was shocked. They are unlikely to even be able to collect double the norm. Then what is needed is triple. You can also multiply it by 2. He understood that their affairs were bad, and now they will not only lose the medical garden, but also lose the life of the young master. Lin himself appeased the collector in advance by organizing a luxurious vacation for him directly at his residence. If the fan loses, then he and the collection will split the garden 50-50. And also the guy was a spy, and he told him that all this time only one main character was working in the medical garden. The main character said that everything was ready and they went to look at the grass. Lin, what herbs were planted then, he laughed. After all, they were rotten and stuck, and the collection was ready to blow the head off the main character. The main character also laughed when he stopped the sword of the collection. As he expected, the garbage only sees garbage. She is the main treasure and turns her attention. So he showed them other fields, after which the 3 guys were simply shocked. Lin didn't understand how this happened. Hiro knew nothing about caring for medicinal injuries. I didn't realize how well I took care of all these herbs, and the grass that he has in seedlings everywhere. Already sees her, she is still here. The collection was also shocked. The color of this grass is quite good. All of it is first class. Its quality exceeds all standards. He is also afraid that everything here is 5 times more than necessary. Now the assistant himself understood why his master spent all these days making every effort to care for the medical garden. Lion grass is a terrible weed by its nature. Planting it in medicinal plants will lead to their withering, however. In this era, no one knows yet. What if you ask for grass from the opposite side of the sun and give it some transformations? It will change its properties and will accelerate the growth and quality of medicinal plants. The main character answered Lin that he lost the argument, and it doesn't matter how he was able to do it all. The guy didn't want to give anything to the main character. After all, he won't be able to do anything to him. The main character showed him a piece of paper. If the guys give it back, he will go to prison for all the remaining money. Lin asked the collection for help, but he refused help. After all, he has nothing to do with the German couple. He was just passing by. Later, the guys rode on horseback through the mountains. The assistants thanked the young master because he was amazing. He received entire iron mines, but the assistant asked for forgiveness. He did not understand something. Why risk fighting valuable medicine and throwing away a garden for a worthless iron mine? The main one said that there was no plan, he just wanted to play. In fact, the ratio of iron ore to elixir is not worth estimating at all. But from his past life, he remembers that this same iron mine is not easy. It contains a lot of valuable, mysterious iron ore. If the mine is used for its intended purpose, then its cost is not lower than the cost of a medical garden. I ran to an assistant who reported that something had happened in the mine. The mine suddenly collapsed and crushed dozens of miners to death. The workers blamed the main character and his family for what was happening. After all, while their iron mine belonged to another family, they were always safe. But as soon as another family came, everything went wrong. The assistant to the main character, the rule of flour, was too unsafe to see here. The main character understood that as soon as the mine came into possession, a landslide occurred. It was some kind of strange coincidence. The hero used the equipment and noticed that inside the mine, the miners are not dead, but they are still alive, and judging by the traces, it seems that this is not a complete collapse of the mine, just a landslide at the entrance to the cave. It was obvious that this was a man-made explosion. Then he realized what was going on. Lin is looking after their Guy 1. He blew up the mine, killing the miner. He wants to provoke the public's anger against him. The main character told all the guys that the miners are still alive, and if they can remove the stones at the entrance, then they will save them. Now is the best time to save them. People around did not want to believe the words of the main characters. This one looked personally at Lin, who laughed at this. He said that his family would now stop resisting. He again began to say that they were all different people to him, and there were still chances for salvation in their family and friends, so they don't have to give up. He swears on his life that he will save them. If they can dig up the mine and find that they are dead, they can do with it what they want. People got to work. The main character turned to his assistant and asked him to make one for him. Lin watched everything from the side. He said that those who dig as much as their heart desires will still fail. He had long ago placed swamp poison in the mine. Even if the people inside us are not crushed by death, they will definitely die from the toxins. 2 o'clock later, people excavated the site, and they saw that people were lying inside, dead. The people who dug the mine began to cry. After all, the main character deceived them. They ended up dead after all. A tench also came down to them and declared what the main character had said, that they could do whatever they wanted with him. And since he did not fulfill his promise, he swore with his life, which means he must part with her. People have already figured out to kill the main character. Lin, because he knew that the main character was his in this sieve. But they don't have any evidence. Even if they try to dig something up, nothing will come of it. The main character simply approached the dead people. He ordered his assistant to stuff rye peel into people's mouths in advance. In order not to stain his clothes, he can do this mouth to mouth. Lin saw this and told people that he was mocking the bodies of dead people, whom they knew. People were already ready to kill him and leave the body here. People were already offending, but the main character ordered the assistant not to stop the melancholy and continued in the same spirit. The assistant didn't understand that you were in all right, young master, because the chances were that they were killed. Moreover, the assistant gave the man his first kiss. Suddenly the man woke up. He noticed that he had a very long, strange dream. His wife and son ran up to the man. The main character understood that swamp toxins were extremely poisonous plants. Well, if the poisoned person takes the medicine in time, carefully peel the fruit. The effect of poisoning can easily be forgotten, so he asked the assistant to go to their family's place and bring fruit. After all, in this era, he is the only one who knows such medicines. He also approached the man and asked for his forgiveness, and asked him if he could tell him what he remembered before he lost consciousness. He told how the tench blew up the passage into the cave, and they drank forcibly. He had enough sleep that even so they would be able to escape, so he brought a swamp taxi here. He wanted to poison them all and wanted them dead. The main character rushed to the guy with a grin. He wasn't expecting it at all, but he was behind it all, and the truth came out. He told other family members that if anyone is angry because their loved ones almost died right now, they should express all their grievances to the guy. The main character, I told him he needed to solve everything, but I couldn't find it. According to the memories and his past life, this is the only iron ore that should be hidden in one of the ordinary ore bushes. The main character was approached by a man who disgraced his age to save his life. All the other guys did it. The main character replied that she didn't need to be more cheerful. Everyone is tired today, so he will give them a couple of days off, and after the weekend they will start working. The main character also asked where the line was made. The men said that after exposing his attempt they surrounded him, but he managed to escape. Now the man thinks that he no longer belongs in the city. The main character understood that Lin must have hidden some ore in advance. If only the main character knew that he was running away, he would at least have information about her whereabouts. The assistant told the main character that he could return. But in response he came with only one question. Does the assistant know the suppliers of the city of Yunying? The assistant replied that knowing that these people in Yu and the city terrify even those who do not contact them. If you borrow money from them and don't pay it back on time, you risk being disabled for life. And it's almost impossible to give back. The interest rate is high. Only desperate fools will ask them for money in return. He asked why the gentleman asked them if he really wanted to borrow money from them. The main character confirmed this information and borrowed 500 gold coins from them. The assistant was shocked by this information. An ordinary person only needs 20 gold coins a year, and he took as much as 500. Feng that he took these off in order to take good care of the medical garden. So initially the main character thought that if he took all the iron ore, in addition to the wonderful ore, he would be able to repay the debt. But now the situation is such that the tench ran away. He did not find such wonderful ore, and he did not know where he could get the money. The father of the main character appeared. He was glad to meet because he had not seen each other for so many days, as if he saw another person in front of him at the moment. He asked his son if he felt better. Only the assistant wanted to tell him that his son borrowed money. The clan hero closed his mouth. He understood that in his life his father went out of his way to take care of him, literally risking his health. In this life, he will never let his father worry about him again. He doesn't want his father to suffer because of him again. The father asked his son if he was okay. Now he doesn't have to worry. He spent a lot of money and bought him pills to harden his body, so he passed them on to him. With their help, he will definitely be able to restore his base. The son answered his father that he was already much better and should not worry. He understood what it meant. His father had been worried about his injury all this time. For these 2 pills, my father went out of his way to do so much work. But the father simply grabbed his son by the road and asked him to wait. He asked his son how this was possible. As his cultivation base grew to a higher stage, the hero promised his father that as soon as they returned home, he would tell him everything. The main character told his young man that he had found a teacher who helped him, and moreover he would teach him alchemy. The father was very happy to hear such words that his son could become an alchemist. The father even laughed after the main character said that his teacher called him a talented student. The father always knew that his son was a genius of heaven. No one could destroy his son's future. The father also wanted to see and meet his son's teachers. What his son received in response was that his teacher does not like strangers, and he clearly does not want him, that too many people knew about his existence. Therefore the son thinks that he will refuse to meet his father. The father agreed with this. He understood that an expert of this level prefers a life of solitude. The main character understood that it was wrong to scare his father, but he does not know any pain. The best excuse for his lack of knowledge in the field of alchemy is better to invent a teacher so that his father breaks down to him. The father also told his son that it was time for him to leave, and he also gave one thing to his son. He took it specially for his son, and in the future he will find himself in a difficult situation that is difficult to resolve. He must use this item. This is the martial order of the Qin family. Before the father left, he noticed that although he and his son had not seen each other for a long time, it was time for him to go on business. Their family will be introduced to the main character. The main character understood that this military order of the family was really very important to him, but he didn't understand why his father gave him away. It was a lazy personal honor. He would never, ever, ever approach his father. A few days later, in the medical garden, the main character was called. After all, someone came to see him. The main character understood that this was the end. It flew out of his head that he had to pay off the debt today. Yesterday, he wanted to borrow money from his father, but he spent it all on body-toughening pills, and all the family's reserves are used up. If they repay the debt, the bandits may take their house. Well, there was a girl behind the door, who came to thank the main character for saving her. The girl explained that she came here for her future husband. The main character said that it was the only girl who he fed the fruit mouth to mouth because the poison stopped working. Well, then I didn't pay attention. The main character asked the girl to be sure if she came here to pay for kindness. He understood that she herself said that she came for this, and the clone hero was wondering how she was going to pay. He has great ambition and is not going to get married early. For payment, I'm ready to tell you where the wonderful ore is. The girl explained that at that moment she did not immediately lose consciousness and saw how the guys hit her. She took a homemade diction pill and was more conscious than others. Then she heard about the location of the wonderful ore. The main character didn't care. He grabbed the girl's hand and was delighted that she was able to create a pill without any buildings. The main character understood that this pill had a couple of shortcomings, but the very fact that she hid it without a teacher was surprising. And this girl had the talent to become an alchemist. Then the main character asked the girl if she wanted to become an alchemist. She didn't know because she had a poor family, and she also needed to support her parents. Therefore, she needs to work as an honest miner. The main character said that these are all her problems. He takes them upon himself. He is ready to deal with his parents. After all, he understands alchemy. What can take it in a student? She just needs to promise that she will follow him. In his past life, he focused on alchemy, but in this one he wants to practice bean arts. So he will kill 2 birds with 1 stone if he takes her students. He decided to hire a student so that he would have more time to practice martial arts. The girl promised to follow the guy. When the guy thought that he had found a good slave, and then the girl thought that she had found a good husband. A few days later in Fengming City, the main character's assistant did not expect that it would occur to him to sell iron ore in this city, so the assistant asked how many young master wanted to sell. The main character replied that he needs to sell enough so that he can easily pay with usurers, so he shouldn't go overboard with the quantity. You just need to sell ores worth 1,000 gold coins. Was amazed. He understood that even if it was a bit much, there was enough ore, he just needed to dump it. To get rid of debts, therefore, he will not use doi. If somehow they find a buyer who desperately needs ore, he will be able to collect 1,000 gold coins. The main character replied that in fact, they need to collect 10,000 gold coins, although he insisted on raising the debt more persistently, but now he owes them at least 10,000 coins. The main character simply asked him. This batch of iron ore was worked on intensely for several days. They increased the number of hours beyond recognition. Therefore, I think that all the ore will be sorted out in seconds. But they were in too much of a hurry, so they couldn't achieve the level of quality that the main character was striving for. Well, when the turn came to sell it, the buyer said that he wouldn't take it for 100 coins. After all, as they all know, wonderful iron ore is crystal clear and has the shape of a precious stone. The main character called the seller Dean, because it was a wonderful ore. The seller asked to convince him that this was a real wonderful ore, but the store owner appeared. The man was interested that he came in. Then the seller explained to him that a fool had come who wanted to sell them a fake miraculous RDA, and he said that he didn't understand anything about it. The store owner simply kicked the guys out onto the street. The main character undressed did not understand who else he was saying that I was a wonderful ore, but the assistant tried to stop him, because there was no need to do this. After all, the owner of this store is a respected person. He is supported by property people. They can afford to provoke him. The main character realized that his assistant was right, but because of him they are forced to leave the city and go to another. Then he is afraid that during this trip he will again fall behind on his debt. The store owner explained to his salesman that if he encounters such deceivers again, he should immediately kick them out, and dealing with such people will only spoil the reputation of their store. But this stone still stood on their table, and the man saw that it was dirty. He remembered that it was a wonderful ore, otherwise it would be laid out, and apparently he forgot it. The seller explained that this is the most common ore, a piece of iron, and in other words, that this charlatan, or rather our main character, wanted to sell it to him for 10,000 gold. When the store owner began to lose the ore, it began to shine very brightly. Only the seller did not fully believe because he had been working in trade for so many years. But among all the amazing many ores, he heard about the wonderful ore to the right. He was sure that the main character of the section had something wrong with him. This was followed by a blow to the guy's face for saying too much, and he offended an important person. And also the store owner ordered the seller that they would prepare the money and go look for this guy to apologize, because he hopes that it is not too late. He and the hero were already on their way back. The assistant told him that they would set such a high price, and he had the feeling that even if they went through a dozen of these large stores, they still wouldn't sell for such a required amount. And then the store owner came running and said that he was ready to buy their ore. He, the hero, asked the guys if they had 10,000 gold coins. The owner said that of course there was some kind of misunderstanding between them, and because of this, he would apologize. He also brought money. The assistants and knights around were surprised that someone really wanted to buy all the ore, but the main character said that he was not ready to sell it to the store owner. After all, he really wants to sell them the whole lot, even right now. But still, without hesitation, one question from their friend confused his subordinates. They are in the volume of it. The fact that for the sake of them he does not want to sell ore. Yes, if he were ready, but he doesn't allow him to do it. His squad was simply shocked that there was a demand for ore. He also blames them for not wanting to sell the ore. They want to sell and are in no way offended. The store owner grabbed his subordinate by the ear, and he said that he was an idiot. It's all his fault he angered the master and his subordinates, so it's wise to apologize to them properly. The owner of the store also tells me that he still dares to call his product a fake. The owner explained that ordinary miraculous ore is crystal clear and shines like a tattered stone. This is because a regular miraculous contains a lot of useless crystals and is extremely difficult to remove. This creates the illusion that the miraculous ore is similar to a hair-precious stone. In fact, the purer the miraculous ore, the darker it is illuminated, and only when stimulated by its aura, it begins to study the light, and the higher the quality of the miracles of the kind, the stronger in the world. Therefore, he will change to say that this is the best thing he has seen in his life. And she was magnificent at the level of purification. Even the owner of the store understood that behind this young man there was an incomprehensible sleepy alchemist. Now the hero understood that they realized that your work was of the highest quality. Of course, it was not his students who used the method that he had perfected for 100,000 years. The incomprehensible alchemist. That's him. But since he has realized the full value of this ore, he will now ask more for it. The main character once again reminded that after all, his friend was trying for the benefit of the entire store. He was so confident in his wires that he said if his pebble turned out to be wonderful, then he would be up to us. The seller did just that. He started swearing correctly, and the store owner asked for forgiveness once again, and he asked the university to be angry with his subordinate. Then the store owner offered to buy it here for 30,000 gold coins. Then the main character agreed, although he would be a slight minus, he said he would agree with it. You, mainly because he is a powerful man, have maintained his kindness and reputation. The main characters were simply shocked by the 30,000 gold coins, and the main character said that he would still be in a small minus. The main character was glad because they would not only take a long time to pay off, but they would also remain on top. So they go shopping. If there are still many things to buy for his martial arts perfection, he will finally be able to spend money without thinking too much. Lin decided to please his father that he was beaten and it was all done by Feng, and the fact that something needs to be done about it. The father was shocked that his son had someone with a fly. After all, how can you sit idly by when his son was brazenly framed? In the Qin estate, the main character noticed that the pills she gave him were quite good. Encouragement and reading the gods will be able to raise oneself to the 5th level. And yet Ulan the hero got it. And it was very good because he is gradually becoming stronger, and he will definitely be able to change the sad fate with his previous life. But suddenly I heard a knock on the door. After using the technique, he noticed 2 people trying to pass quietly. Since the main character didn't invite anyone, he decided to beat the guys for fun. At the same time, he wanted to see how much his strength had increased. One of the lowlies turned to his brother and said that he would distract the hero's head, and his brother will kill him too. But instead the main character came to him. The main character knew about their arrival even before they entered. The main character replied that she knows that the guys are the killer, but I haven't waved my fists for a long time, so I went to them personally so that I could practice on them. The killer was simply shocked by the guy's impudence. He was on level 5, and he just wants to try to practice on them. And not so many times they killed other people, and this is the first time when another person came out to them with hugs and flowers. The main character replied that there is a first time for everything. He's actually going to fight for the first time in his life. And he understood that since his past life he devoted all the attention and power to alchemy, for 100,000 years he did not have to fight with anyone. It's time to try out the results of his work. Also, the main character understood that he needed to relax. This was just a fight. When studying martial arts with this wound or posture he encounters, he must accumulate as much experience as possible. One of the killers turned bright red and said that he had killed about 80 people like the main character. He must make the opportunity, and in order for the trash as the main character to learn his lesson. Frivolity. After which he immediately rushed at the main character, and only now he, the hero, noticed what level this guy was. This was the 8th level of the Chi and Blood stage. The killer's brother understood that his brother would leave him no place other than the main character. After all, he is only level 5. Therefore, the guys fell asleep, and even he, who was also on the 8th level, could not withstand this pressure. Lahiro was delighted. Finally, his first battle in 100,000 years. He wanted more and more. Then he struck his opponent. After this blow, the main character knocks out his killer. Another killer was surprised that he could kill his brother with one blow. He understood that he was definitely not the 5th level main character. The main character apologized for going through them so quickly. He did not feel the charm of a long and amazing struggle. Another killer did not understand how the main character dared to kill his brother, because they had been inseparable all their lives. Well, the killer decided to just run away. The main character still scored on the guy. After all, he thinks that the construction of the foundation can be completed. After all, I didn't expect that reading the gods would make his main strength so proprietary. But he, a hero, understood that he needed to follow the killer and find out where they came from. To kill him. The hero moved to another mansion. He understood that the killer had come running here and disappeared. The person who ordered the murder must be here. But suddenly the hero seemed to be the killer himself, who was not in the best condition. Most likely he died. The customer got rid of his own, and this surprised even the main characters. And people appeared around you who said that they needed to catch the thief. They are all level 8 masters. Lin's acquaintance asked the main character if he shouldn't have set him up. After all, this will give him a lot of trouble, and now the guy has promised that the hero will pay you for everything. He came here because he couldn't finish him off. Feng was surprised why he didn't immediately realize that it was him. It was clear that the guy wanted him dead. Lin tells the main character that I don't understand what's wrong here. He only knows that he came here straight to the mansion of the City Lord to kill him. Even the main character was convinced that this was the mansion of the Mountain Lord. At that time, the ruler of Fengming City was supported by his family. Lin Ah dared to involve his family as the Lord of Fengming City. Now he definitely won't be able to get away with it. The main character asked the guy if he wanted to use the power of the City Lord to plot against him. A garden appeared which caught the blade and the suicides. Word itself noted that the main character should be more careful, that if he wants to kill someone, he should do it. Otherwise, if I adore him, he's not going to wipe his ass. The Lord's son was protected by his father, but the hero was not a bewildered witch. The Lord was their supporter. The man just laughed when he heard this. After all, so many years have passed, and his family still takes the small favors she did him so seriously. Therefore, he ordered his judge to get rid of the guy himself. He told the main character that his ex had not only greatly advanced the development of martial arts, but was also going to make the third prince a concubine. And her plans are to oust his family, decide its power, and elevate the Lin family in its place, making one of the 5 strongest families. Also notice that their family has more in the future. After all, who cares about the Qin family, which is also going through difficult times? Lin asked his father what he was going to make the main hero. I will tell him that there is no need to worry. He will use a legitimate reason not to interfere in the affairs of the Qin family. And my father was going to get rid of my boyfriend. The main character understood that he was really careless. They locked him in a room and gave him different clothes. He didn't expect the city lord to side with the Lin family. The main character's assistant appeared from behind the wall and was very worried about his young master. These people in the city lord's mansion are discussing the formation of a concubine and the third prince. And the fact that because of this news of the heads, the hero fell into hatred and killed 2 members of the royal family. That tomorrow morning they will execute the main character in accordance with the law. The main character thought that he would be sentenced to exile or something like that. He didn't expect that the Lord would actually use the royal family to kill him, And all this is just to curry favor with the Lin family. The family is now the royal family, the strongest, and even if they declared that they wanted to execute him on their own behalf, the top of the Qin family would only have to get angry, but you didn't say anything as a counterbalance. The main character told his assistant something that did not kill anyone from the royal family. He is innocent and therefore must escape. Through a dug hole, like a dog. But the assistant understood that they did not have time at all, because young master now was not the moment when it was worth thinking about such things. But he understood that he, as a member of the Qin family, could not. He must get out of this situation with dignity. Well, the main character hit his assistant right in the ass because the guards had changed. If he doesn't leave, Uzi is sitting here with him. So he tried to kick him out. When the assistant left, they did not cover the hole with straw, so that the guards don't see anything. The main character did not expect that his family would put so much effort into handing over such an insensitive person, and there was no grateful person. Therefore, the main character was forced to use extreme measures. He popped his father's retinue to use it. After application, there was only blood around. It was the main group of the Qin family who came, and did not ask their master what happened. He's a hero, nothing like that. Some people just rely too much on their father, and we also need to deal with it. After all, the true martial arts masters have arrived. The assistant informed the rest of the guards that the man himself had guessed everything and escaped from prison on his own. They didn't believe it, but they ate their fill, because the gentleman also sold the wonderful ore for 30,000 gold. But at one moment the assistant and others saw the hanging corpse. They couldn't believe that it was their young master. They have already started paying for it. And then our main character appeared, who was really looking forward to his assistant. And I asked him why he was crying here, and he brought that breakfast. And then all the guys rushed at the young master. After all, he was alive. Since Lin's father is not as good as the protagonist's father, now he has lost his godfather. The corpse was the city lord. The main character showed the children the military order of his family. The military order of the family is the equivalent of treasures of military power. The main security for the family group is enough to see the sign of the combat ordinate, and then they will arrive and will obey orders from the sender without reservation. The assistant also asked the main character what order he gave. The main character is half given that the guy still doesn't understand. But he decided to tell him that Lin and others dared to kill him, and it's clear that he won't just leave it like that. Therefore, he ordered everyone to be killed. The masters destroyed the city lord's mansion and forced his body to experience several circles of hell. But it's a pity that the protagonist's father worked hard for so many years, but received only one military order. Now that it has been used up, all that is left of it is one empty shell. The guy also noticed that the city lord's mansion looked very abandoned, and his death brought him so much pleasure. The tent itself was a joke, and around people were shouting at it and throwing vegetables at it. The guy admitted that he blamed the hero in vain, and the main character didn't try to kill anyone at all. In all troubles, but only him. We looked at the guy himself, the assistant, and the main character who took turns with the guy because apparently he brought so much trouble to this city that he received a lot for it. The assistant asked the young master why not get rid of this guy because he had harmed him 3 times. The main character replied that while he could not, he was still his bride, and she was going to turn out to be a prince. In short, she has more than enough power. His murder will be great and about the ball, and then their family can go to war with the royal one. But last night he threatened the guy to clear the main character's name. Moreover, he is a hero from the Qin family and killed the city lord, who was supported by his family. In this is the murder of the Lin family, and there is nothing to say. He has nothing to do with them. But after killing Lin Lan, you won't be able to get away with it. Then the guys came up with another option. Just beat him up and not let him die. Already at night, the main security group came to the guy and immediately swung an axe at him. The guy already thought that they wanted to kill him, but they just released him. They were their own. A relative and His Majesty came. Now his sister also pleaded with His Royal Highness the Third Prince, so he was ordered to take him to the capital. Lin asked the prince for help because he needed to destroy the Qin family. The man replied that the prince only ordered the guy to be taken to the capital, so he asked her to complicate the situation. The guy explained that if his son-in-law is ready to help him kill Qin, then in the future he will not only ask his sister to tell the Paskov emperor about him, but also give half of the iron ore mined in the country. Yes, the assistant replied that it would be difficult for her to refuse his request. The 2 guys set off. Already in the medical garden, the main character slept with his student, but for some reason the main character was connected. This was done by his assistant. He remembers that this happened a few hours ago. when he chick looks like a doll in the garden. Only then did a frightened assistant approach him and say that the gentleman could not even imagine what horrors the foggy forest concealed. The misty forest is not only full of poisonous gases, it also contains countless poisonous insects and animals. The medical garden at that time belonged to the misty forest, and in order to take an insignificant part of the foggy forest for themselves, the family had to start a fire with hundreds of warriors. In short, people should not climb into the foggy forest. It is forbidden. At the moment, the main character understood that he had completely forgotten that for this generation the foggy forest is the most dangerous place. But this girl who is next to him now, she relatively treats him as if he were some kind of outsider. Suddenly the main character heard extraneous sounds, and it was two killers, which came to the main character and already managed to kill several guards. One of the killers noted that if they kill so many subordinates of this family, otherwise the Qin patriarchy will begin an investigation. The problem will only get bigger, so they need to finish this. These are more than two masters of the boarded-up stage. The main character broke his shackles at one point. He understood that the situation was much worse than he had imagined. These guys could easily kill dozens of them. The most valuable guard in the medical garden is at the 9th level of the Qi and blood stage. The family's abilities are at the required level. If there is a fight here, then all the people in the medical garden will be involved. They don't leave him in trouble. They needed to leave. As soon as the guys saw the main character, they immediately attacked him. After which the guy's head flew off instantly. The guys just came to take it with them as evidence. They saw that it was just a doll. Then the guy seemed to be the main character who was already there, but he noticed to the horse that if they want to kill him, they must first catch him. The main character understood perfectly well that they only needed him. So for the safety of his subordinates, he will leave everything to himself. And he needed to take these guys away. The killer immediately ran after the guy, and he immediately threw dust in their faces. According to him, it's great that although their level of development is much higher than his own, but there is no point in chasing a 100,000-year-old chemist. After getting into the eyes, the guys could not open their eyes. It was the Tianluo fruit she had for a while that was capable of depriving them of their sight, and the main character already managed to realize that these two couldn't follow his tricks. But fortunately, he was wrong. Also, thanks to magical technology, he can see the night as if it were day. He can also safely ride a horse, so it will be very easy to get rid of them. But then they immediately rushed at the same moment at the main character directly with an axe to the head. He clearly didn't expect this. Well, the hero didn't understand how this was possible because they did it all with their eyes closed. And I still keep up with him here. One of the killers grabbed the horse's neck and believed that this was the main character. Feng understood that they managed to catch up with him, but confused him with a horse. Perhaps this is due to the fact that hunters are killers who hunt by scent, and that means he was able to reverse the dummy's trick, not because they are stupid, but because of his scent on him. I listened to the same thing. The guys started chasing the main character. The main character tore off some of his clothes. He understood that he needed to throw clothes everywhere to spread the smell, and maybe he will be able to escape. One of the killers was already laughing because the guy finally realized that they were guided by smell. Well, one moment the guys all ran right up the slope together, and there was only fog in the forest. Even the main character was surprised that he turned us off the road leading into the foggy forest. The killer began to laugh because they understood that the hero was afraid, because he didn't have enough laughs to jump into the forest right now. If he only appears there, who will die immediately from poisonous gas? But the main character crushed the fruit. He said that his eggs were huge, so he jumped off the cliff. The main character regretted that he had not come here earlier. The main character noticed that a 1000-year-old medicinal plant grew on trees. They didn't fly out very fresh. There were also many other plants around, that he will die in this forest. But even though the poisonous fog was truly fatal to the demon, he drank the juice of the fruit in advance. This is the easiest way to protect yourself from fog. And this forest was not only harmless to him, on the contrary, it saved his life. And even though the effect of the fruit does not last long, but there were a lot of high-quality spiritual herbs here, you will have to prepare a protective agent from which is a friend here. For a perfect alchemist like him, it couldn't be easier. 2 o'clock later, he heard some strange sound. When he went to look and saw a red raccoon dog, it was very difficult for them to understand. And it seems the effect of the pills he prepared to scare away the animals was so strong that it caused the animals to lose consciousness. But finally, the main character had an idea how to deal with the two killers. 2 guys were looking for the main character filled with those body, but unexpectedly he used his technique and knew how to attack the guys. They are surprised why he hasn't died yet, but they suspected that he was severely poisoned. So very weak. The main character laughed because he was at the level of the QE and blood stage, and he managed to keep them. But as professional hunters, they should know a thing or two about cylinders and recreation. The main character also asked the guys what would happen if you mixed the blood of a red dog and a raccoon dog. Sunflower light. Both guys replied that obviously a new poisonous fog would occur, and if yours appeared, 10 breaths would be enough for even a locked stage practitioner to die. But the red and note dog is quite dexterous and cunning. It's almost impossible to catch it. The guys laughed. The main character began counting down and a poisonous fog appeared. The guys were surprised because he smeared the blood of a red raccoon dog on the darts, and the tree had already begun to produce a poisonous fog, and without knowing it, they had already begun to inhale the fog. He responded to the heroes that, unfortunately for them, last night he accidentally picked up a red raccoon dog, and yes, now the target of shooting darts from the very beginning was a tree. 2 minutes ago, the hero could only take the risk of pretending to be dead, letting him get closer, shooting and then diverting attention, so that they wouldn't understand what exactly he did. Only the guys wanted to attack the main character. He said that it was too late and then they started bleeding from their mouths, and they didn't fall unconscious. The hero noticed that if they were ordinary people, the poisonous fog would not act so quickly, but for the two of them, a hunter specializing in Charm Island, the lethal effect of the fog will occur almost instantly. The main character noticed that during the day there were hares or many other raccoons. He asked forgiveness from the raccoon whose blood he took. Why should the main character destroy other raccoons and eat the bodies of the dead? Not only did he deal with potential opponents, but he also collected a bunch of useful spiritual herbs. This was great news. The very next day, a tench came to the medical garden. People brought the main character's things and said that he had died. The assistant, of course, did not want to fully believe in this information. After all, he believed in his young master. Well, Lynn said that she really admires the guy because he alone will change into these in the fog. Now the guys had to discuss the nuances. The iron mine will return back to the line, and the medical garden just goes to him. And then the main character appeared, who said that now the sand guy and the royal guard will ask for help. The main character immediately abandoned his teaching, who asked where he had been all this time. He explained that everything was fine with him. He just decided to take a walk in the dark fog in the middle of the night. The main character was asked how he didn't die in the fog in the forest. He explained that he just took a walk in the foggy forest. He shouldn't have died there. The main character was asked by a representative of the king's family if the main character knows which family he represents, because today they came to discuss ownership of the Iron Spring. The assistant understood that this man represented the royal family. The young master could not oppose anything to him. He could only obey, and he would have to deal with the royal family on business. The main character simply laughed and said that he didn't care who the person represented. The main character said that he was in a bad mood today. They dared to piss him off and almost kill him. Even if he was with his family, he would still kill him. The main character approached the representative of the royal family and asked him if he was aware that the Lord of Fengming City had been hanged a few days ago. He belonged to his Qin family. After all, the Lord thought that it would be better to follow the lead of the Lin family. Once again, the royal family decided to support his idea of killing him, and that night he activated the Qin family military order. And the Lord's mansion was completely destroyed. This was his order. And also the main character said that last night he was walking in a foggy forest, and there, out of nowhere, your killer thoughts appeared. So the main character explained that in the misty forest, he once again used the family's military order, and the masters cut them into pieces and fed them to wild animals. He also warned the guy that if he tried to attack him, he would bring down a military order on him. The men's hearts beat faster and faster. He finally understood how the guy was able to get out of the foggy forest. It turns out he had a family order. He already felt the hard way that she was a guardian of the military order of the Qin family. He didn't want to go through that anymore. Therefore, she said that the main character is really right. He represents the royal family, and so he just came to visit him. The guys quickly decided to leave. Nutrition Invalid began to be afraid of the main character. The assistant asked his young master didn't he say that he had already used the family's military orders. But the main character repeating his own words is just a shell. She remained from that same military order. He only scared these puppies. A little later, the student approached her teacher to ask him where he went that night, because he made her worry. The main character replied that he already said that he went to the foggy forest. He also collected many useful spiritual herbs. The assistants and the others all began to laugh at the master because they did not want to believe him. That the foggy forest is a forbidden place, and he is not at the level of strength to take you there and get out alive. And also the assistant asked where the harvest is, which he is talking about now. The guy pointed back and said that he had collected so many medicinal herbs that he had to equip the horse with them, and it had already entered. The guy said that he was very tired, so he decided to go and rest. He also asked the guys to unload the horse. The assistant was simply shocked because the young master seemed like the assistant would never be able to understand him, and his methods too. A few days after the fog forest incident, Lin was brought to the capital for the wedding of his sister and the third prince. And the eunuch received an order from the third prince and placed the family guard in the city of Yunying to stand ready. The main character understood that despite the fact that the city is controlled by the Qin family, the Ye royal family is beginning to interfere in their affairs and stationed an army in it. But apparently, the Ye family has begun to fear him. He cannot find another pawn to place the army. The main character turned to his assistant, and he said that from this day on, the monthly salary of the security guards will be doubled. The assistant was surprised and asked why such generosity. What does the main character want to do with these actions? The main character told the assistant to form a detachment because he went into the foggy forest to clean up. The assistant was surprised. He didn't understand how a living person could get out of there. Hiro explained that there is no need to worry. First, you need to gather the good guys into one squad. He will tell the details later. According to his memoirs, now is precisely the era when active clearing of such wastelands begins. So he needs to start training his subordinates now to clear out the wasteland. This way he can build his own professional army and increase control over the city. The next day, the main character explained to the guys that he wanted to send her that model and would also give them medicine. After all, in order to form a team to clean up the wasteland, they will need to pass a selection process. Afterwards, undergo training, and the squad will receive triple salary. The main character also explained that he would train all of them. The guys thought that the gentleman was just joking because he could barely defeat them personally. So he can't just physically train someone. So the guys just left. The assistant understood what was going on. After all, the cozy gentleman's body is damaged, and his cultivation foundation is the weakest among the guards of the medical garden. He was too unconvincing. But the main character ordered his assistant that he would go with him, so he needed to buy guns for the squad. The assistants didn't understand. God, he was lucky to escape alive from the foggy forest. Then the guys didn't understand why he considered himself a genius. A representative of the royal family was sitting at the table and an assistant approached him, who said that according to the investigation, the main character had only one combat order, and he used it while he was in the city. In other words, the guy had them fooled. A collection of herbs appeared who really wanted to take revenge because all his powers were taken away from him, and now no one relies on him for the main character. He attacked the chairman of the royal family, and he left it with one hand. A representative of the royal family invited the herbal collection to join in the murder of the main character. The collection understood that to destroy the main character, it was necessary to first destroy his medical garden. But the representative of the royal family was against it. If someone from their family destroys his garden, this could provoke a war between the royal family and his family. And the man suggested using a pill made from boiling blood because it attracts ferocious animals. Representatives of the royal family were ready to buy pills and spend any amount of money just to kill the main character. The main character was about to make a pill. He used a portion of the tianluo fruit to prepare 20 body tempering pills. An ordinary alchemist often has to purify them several times, because preparing the body pin pill is a very complicated process. But for him, the god of the pill, it would be easy, because in his time he mixed hundreds of spiritual herbs. And it's not worth mentioning how easily he was able to process spiritual materials. And in the end, he still prepared 24 pills, and they were of the highest quality. The usual probability of success does not exceed 2%, but thanks to his ability, he managed everything 100%. The quality of the pills is rated from 1 to 10. Then I think the quality of these pills is 9. About tens of 1,000 years when he prepared such cheap pills. If such high-quality pills were put on the market, many questions would arise for him. If he wanted to sell the pills, he would need to find a way to reduce their quality. The guy used one pill and was able to advance to the 6th level of the stage. And getting the enormous power of the body pin pill in combination with divine advancement gave him an excellent effect. Now I needed to take pills to calm my body. This way he can set his combat power to a level and get rid of the possibility of damage to the body, because continuously advancing in a short period of time is too dangerous. But in order to become the first people to explore the wasteland, they must fight tooth and nail. The protagonist's disciple didn't understand whether the young master had overcome his cultivation foundation. After all, she heard the protagonist's assistant say that the young master's defeat at the mountaintop had been over a month, and this defeat severely traumatized his body. She didn't understand if he really began to work hard to regain everything he had lost, so she really wanted to help him. She will never let anyone bother him. There was an alarm in the sphere, and the animals came running, but the disciple said that the young master had not finished his breakthrough yet. The beast turned out to be an iron bull. Hunters surrounded him, but the beast had too strong a defense. No one could break through it normally. For a moment he scattered everyone, but arrow immediately flew to him. The student let her in. The soldiers were glad that the young girl was able to do this. The guys only managed to anger the beast itself even more, the arrow itself. The student asked again for her link. She ricocheted and his horns, and they shouted that she would not be able to restore it. She decided to take the sword in her hands. Don't let her pass by. The girl understood that even if she died in this battle, she still would not retreat. Still, the girl managed to wound and even throw her away. She received multiple injuries. She was kneeling right in front of her side, and he was ready to deliver his final blow. The hero managed to intercept the girl and immediately asked where the cow came from. After all, a person who encroached on the life of his subordinates deserves death. The main character asked to be left alone here. The girl warned the young master that he would not be able to cope because the power of this tank was at the 3rd level of the boarded-up stage, and he is half a step away from the 7th level of the chi and blood stage. So he definitely has no time for bull. But he asked the girl not to be afraid because we are not talking about the kingdoms of power here. The bull has already decided to fly straight at the main character. Everyone around began to panic, but the main characters took out their blade, and he struck Baku, and with the help of the blade he was even able to pierce his skin. After which everyone around was simply in shock because it was impossible. The main character understood that, as a rule, martial artists use weapons in combination with their energy only at the boarded-up stage. But he, with the help of related conduct, broke through the barriers and reached the 7th level of the stage. And it can already draw energy into weapons. In his previous life, he was familiar with the best martial arts skills, but I couldn't use them. But in this life, he will finally learn them completely. So he struck the bull several more times. At one point, the main character appeared right above the bull. Thanks to the moonlight of martial arts, his evasion ability is also significantly mature. In addition, this technique helps him analyze the enemy and discover his weak points. So he relies on her. Then he struck hard with his hand, after which the bull died. Everyone was rudely surprised at how the southern gentleman made his exit, and he asked his subjects if they were going to learn from him. Now is the last chance to enroll in his team of hunters because then it will be too late. Everyone wanted to join his team. Later, the iron bull was moved. The hero wondered why he was here, and what haunts him is the smell of some kind of pill hovering around the medical garden. He suddenly remembered that it was a pill of boiling blood, and something enraged this iron bull. At one point, he used his skill to discover 2 people on a cliff. They argued among themselves. The chairman of the royal family blamed the collection of macaws that his idea was wrong. Now he not only lost the boiling blood pill, but also gave him a precious iron bull. The herbalist was sure that his idea was excellent, because they didn't kill him only because the chairman of the royal family bought a bad pill. It was probably counterfeit. Due to the fact that the guys sat on the edge of a cliff, they accidentally fell. A few days later, all of the family's guards joined the hunting party. The young master was asked what herbs he was willing to give. The iron bull is a serious opponent. All the guards must have spent a lot of effort on him. But they stopped after this battle in just a few days. Doesn't matter. He took a medicine prepared by his alchemist teacher that healed wounds and restored energy. A critical moment for their 7, it was his student who spent herself listening to the parties. She deserves praise. Therefore, she rewards her with special armor made from the skin of an iron bull. And the same outstanding people will appear in their squad. He will reward them in accordance with their actions. So they need to try. The main character also noticed that each guard who guarded the medical garden yesterday would receive a body pin pill from him. Everyone thanked her master together. He also noted that in the next fortnight, he will choose a worthy one. And also those who prove themselves by listening to the side will join the squad of hunters. Their goal is to clear the foggy forest. As president, each squad member will be given 2 pills. Everyone needs to remember together that He Qinfeng encourages his subordinates in some way. Already in a tavern in the city of Yunying, people were discussing the team that sent that model. They believed that everyone would die, but they were going to place bets. A foggy forest is sent to the detachment. People understood that it was impossible to return with the fog of the forest without losing personnel. After all, they will be realists. They are one detachment who visited his foggy forest and did not return unscathed. So everyone made bets. Well, out of nowhere, a man appeared who said that only their family put on a bet today. The chairman of the Crimean family understood that he had lost a lot of money and was washed away, so he had to resort even to such peace. Or, in order to be confident of his victory, he organizes a secret attack on the protagonist's detachment right in the forest. A full month later, the assistant turned to the main character. After all, they assembled a ready-made detachment. These were 12 guards at the first-level Key and Blood stage who showed their abilities and were recognized as elite. They will become members of their squad, each armed with a full set of metal knives and crossbows. This was great for the main character. He asked them to remember that this was the first time they were entering the misty forest. Their expedition promised to be difficult. But he believes that after completing the training, each of them will become their best selves. The guys have already entered the fog. The main character answered that the first pass of her fog in the forest is the main thing, the poisonous miasma. But they no longer pose a danger to them. The pills he gave them ensured that for 2 hours they would not receive any harm from them. The second danger is poisonous insects and animals. They are hiding in the fog. If they encounter them, there is no need to panic and they will die. They will all be divided into 3 groups. Each consists of 4 people. They will all be hoping in different directions. The main character will introduce the main group. They will be moving there right now. His team members should not be left behind. And kind of for him. Relying on the magical technique of enhancing the senses is enough to detect a possible danger hiding in the fog. This was understood perfectly by the main character. If everything follows the rules set by him, then they will not lose a single person. It's scary, Gavrlin, that the young gentleman described everything in such detail, as if he was not here for the first time. But they didn't understand that he wasn't just lucky to survive. He really was trained in everything and knew everything. So they understood that they could calmly move forward themselves in order to broaden the horizons of the young master. So they want more territory. Everyone else agreed with this. They will make it clear to the master that they do not care what they have made, and that even in the fog of the forest you can rely on them. At that moment, one of the guards was attacked by a scolopendra. At the same moment, they were able to pierce him with a crossbow. One disciple explained that he had been in the misty forest long before the young master and could be relied on. He has more experience, but the main character asked him to turn around because there was an even bigger monster behind him. Killing one centipede will attract even more brothers. The main character ordered the guys to keep in line, but they did not immediately start to get lost. The same scary one who said that he had the most experience stupidly froze in place. He didn't want to die. He can already handle 1 centipede. This was his maximum. 2 of them definitely couldn't survive, and there were too many of them here. The main character used his technique called moonlight. He, a hero, even covered his subordinates with his body so that they would not die. At one point, the main character was injured by centipedes. Right in the back, but he did not decide to give up and continued to kill them. For some time, he was able to kill everyone single-handedly. He had no strength left. The main character grabbed the guard and told him that he needed to follow the rules, but he doesn't. His actions almost led to the death of all the teams. Well, when the main character screamed, he felt bad. All the guards understood that they had failed the young master, and they almost killed everyone. Of course, the main character was helped to get up, and he said that everything was fine. After all, according to him, 1 centipede touched and poisoned him. He'll take some detox pills. He understood that his vital energy was greatly undermined by the points, and he really could die now. This is their first expedition to clear the wasteland. And at the very beginning of facing such problems, he is afraid that this will have to end there. All the guards knelt down and said that the young master must punish them. Those who put their team members in danger, in accordance with the rules of voluntarily leaving the team, they did not kill everyone, and they no longer have the right to stay here. The 4 guards decided to leave. One of the guards said that he would punish himself. He will leave the team and will earn his own living in the future. The main character asked the guard where he was going to go, because the main character knows that the decision to join the team is putting his life in danger, since his parents are sick, and they urgently need money for treatment. If he leaves now, he will most likely let his parents down. When the guys took out the bag that the gentleman threw, they didn't see the pill that I had, and they were also very surprised why he gave them. The main character replied that even a hero makes mistakes, but if they are ready, success will follow. And besides, they were planning to leave the forest on their own and would most likely die because of this. First, they need to restore their strength and rest, and the punishment will come later. The guards were simply in shock because they almost killed the young master and he was still ready to stay with them. The main character answered positively and asked to be kind and find a safe place to set up camp. If they behave well and explore the rules, he will see them and the forests alive. The guys opened a camp next to the cave. About 3 days passed. Main character. I understood that Lexi, with whom he now controls his body, is of too low a level. Otherwise, like simple poison, the little arms make him leave him for 3 whole days. Now all that remains is to use the divine technique to speed up detoxification. Well, until detoxification is completed, he certainly cannot fight, so he hopes that he will not die in this forest. Suddenly, I listened to some cries from the prohibitions, after which the hero immediately ran out and asked what was the matter. A huge number of spiders were heading straight towards the guys. The main character understood that his team did not have the proper experience and were immediately bloody spiders. Even though he doesn't have enough combat power right now, he must fight with his full strength no matter what in order to protect everyone. It was he who shouted that everyone needed to take their fighting positions. One of the guards used a pill and scattered dust from it, but the main character was surprised how he knew this. The guards also managed to dig a hole with which they threw in the spiders. The hero noticed that although they do not know how to jump, they will come with good quality webs. One guard noticed that this is why they did it. They will use fire to burn them all. The silk web of blood spiders is an excellent material for extinguishing forest fires. If they shoot webs and crawl on them, it means that they are having a party around the fire. Sent by the Spider Queen. He, the hero, understood that it was so firmly on the skin that fire would not take it. It would be difficult even for a second-level hardening master. The holidays also immediately rushed at the spider. They said that if they killed the little one, then they could kill the big one. Another terrible one noticed that during all the time that they sat in the camp and restored, they reanalyzed all the information that he gave. And for now, the main characters are to rely on them, or else give their lives for him. The main character understood that they had grown up, and they even destroyed the queen. The main character understood that the guys were progressing very quickly. They will not return home. After all, they must move forward and take with them as much spiritual grass as possible. Their expedition will be pointless. The next day, there was no reserve area outside the foggy forest. All the guys were waiting because I didn't understand that the Chin family's hunting party was soon to return. They all hoped that they will be alive. After all, the eunuch of the royal family forced them all to make a bet that was unfavorable to them. And they lost. The whole people are now in poverty. The man himself forced everyone to bet that he was the hero holding complete victory. But he bets that none of them will survive. After all, he did not believe that he, a boy whose experience did not even grow hair on his chest, would see the whole team without losses. Even if, God forbid, he is the first to succeed. One of the people pointed his finger at something that he thought was a bird, right behind the eunuch, and said that because people blocked their exit, he did not dare to go out all day. The main character began to laugh with the guys. Then I think that the main character's mind is dying, but it's not. And besides, he not only died but also returned with the personnel, and the guys had a huge catch. As soon as the eunuch wanted to leave, the main character jumped out and told him that the guy had lost to the residents of the city, and he didn't pay. The guy is confused about what he represents the royal power for, and he won't give anything away, and he won't be able to do anything to him. The main character confirmed his words that he could not do anything to him, but later he would place an advertisement everywhere that he, a representative of the royal power, owed money to a resident of the city. If this is the royal family, then he's definitely screwed. The eunuch was left without a thread. Only in his shorts, after all. He had no money left at all, and he had to pawn his clothes, the weapons and armor of his guard, and only in order to pay off the debt. But the main character said that he needed to be counted. But the main character said that if the eunuch gives up more panties, then there will be enough. A minute later, the boys ran naked from the garden. The main character also thanked the residents of the city of the future. He will often come with his team. Therefore, he will count on their help. For example, he will ask you to produce more equipment and trade resources. Of course, from a price point of view, it won't offend anyone. 3 days later. The guy sat naked near the fire and discussed how the hero came out alive and wasn't angry. They were damn bewildered how this was possible. But the royal alchemist approached them from behind, and he said that he was used to being an alchemist. Lin and her brother sent him here directly from the capital. The assistant brought the main character a 1,000-ton hammer, which he personally asked for last night. All the craftsmen in the city made it for him overnight. Therefore, the quality must be either excellent. Of course, the main character tried to lift him up, but he felt enormous pain in his back. The guys already thought that he might not be happy with it, but he said the opposite. He warned the guys to prepare for the second move into the fog. He has recently mastered new skills, but is still not fully able to do so. So, if you encounter strong opponents, you will have to deal with them with the help of a hammer. The next day, the misty forest is more accurately a swamp. The guys came there. The watchman noticed that there are huge mud crabs in the swamp. If you catch them, you won't be able to sell them for a price. The main character wondered why his divine feelings spoke of something approaching, after which he ordered his servants to find the indicated place and you to be safe, after which he jumped off to a place unknown to everyone. He found two people. One was a royal alchemist with old acquaintances. The royal alchemy said that he prepared an improved current Tyon pill for the guy. So no need to worry. Today they will definitely make this grave cut for the main character. The main character was surprised that the eunuch hired an alchemist to kill them. Even if he tries his best, the royal cavalry is much stronger, and his hunting team is much stronger, and they won't be able to escape right now. They took the route they came here on. In other words, they need to come up with a way. The eunuch saw the traces of the guys, then he ordered the others to go straight, and at one point they fell into a trap, after which the swamp began to sink. The guys didn't understand what happened to them and why they were just a swamp. Then, out of nowhere, Batonov flew to them, and the main character himself said that they still wouldn't calm down and were teaching him to kill him, but he had long ago realized how they would pursue them in the forest. He ordered the hunters to make false tracks and hid in a safe place. The main character began beating one by one with obscenities, but when the moment came for the eunuch, the alchemist himself was able to hit the hammer. The man said that this was his representative of the royal family, and you shouldn't even touch it with your finger. The heroes asked the chemist why he doesn't practice alchemy. Well, the alchemist just at one point attacked the main character and kicked him in the stomach. Kaina's hero asked his question himself, how the alchemist managed to do it. He approached him so quickly it was extraordinary speed. The alchemist himself is that he is the master alchemist of the royal family, second-level boarded stage martial artist. The main character was shocked by his strength. Then he rolled towards him because he had heard rumors that the main character was a chemist's student. Because of this, his head was blown off, and he does whatever he wants in the city. 5 alchemists rushed at the main character. The alchemist relied on speed. The alchemist could knock the hammer out of the hands of the main character. The main character was surprised because the alchemist is based on speed. What I asked him was how he was able to knock it out. The alchemist immediately explained that his technique was based on the speed of the type, more precisely on the strength of the leg. The alchemist struck with his foot right at the main character. The main character understood that the technique of the body means what he relies on, depends on your leg strength. The alchemist himself began to laugh, because the alchemist did not expect the guy to be in such good physical shape. The alchemist decided to use the pill to speed himself up even better. The main character saw that the guy had become even stronger, and could create after-images. The alchemist himself noticed that the main character could barely keep up with him, and after he ate the enhancement pill, he reached a speed twice as high as the previous ones. Alchemist 5 wanted to strike the main character, but he counterattacked. Alchemy of Business asked how the main character was able to hit him, because he was at the double peak of his speed. Oh well, the hero just answered that he doesn't have the strength type. Who used the sledgehammer only because he had only recently learned the agility technique that the ghost dance had actively used in his past life. This is the technique of the great god's body in his past life. After successful practice, one who has learned the technique can travel 1,000 miles in an instant. Since he had just learned it and still couldn't use his full speed, he used a heavy hammer to reduce his speed, otherwise he would have lost space. But I'm fighting with this chemist who accidentally learned the power technique, and it turns out he had been training incorrectly before. I constantly used my lower back to apply force. But now everything is clear. He can finally use the ghost dance in battle. Also, the main thing was that he was the first to notice that he had missed too many blows. Now it was his turn to land a good blow. The main character also decided to use the pill. But he also noticed that what the alchemist ate were several high-quality pills, and now he will show what the pills of the 100,000-year-old alchemist are. The protagonist was able to create 3 afterimages. Why were everyone in shock? He, the hero, dealt a fatal blow to the alchemist, and I decided to come to the queue, more precisely to the eunuch. Representatives of the royal family immediately threw their heads down and began to ask for forgiveness so that he could be released. And yet the main character broke this man's neck with 1 blow. Now he needed to throw away the body, and finally no one will bother him. A few days later, news of the disappearance of the eunuch and the others reached the capital. The royal family was furious and immediately sent more people to the city to find the real killer of their subordinates. Once the killer was found, the royal family would execute his entire bloodline. The royal commissioner turned to the main character because he knew that he was a hero at the same time in the dark forest as the Envuch. But the main character turned on the fool and said that he did not understand what the commissioner was talking about. After all, in the foggy forest, he only had fear, and also his team could not, in a state of fear, kill someone from the elite squad. To the family. Everyone also took turns telling that it was very creepy there. For example, a student told about how they met bloody spiders at 2 after their cruel fall, and suddenly the Queen of Spiders appeared and she almost killed them all. The commissioner could not believe the news. After all, he saw a completely different picture with him. I didn't understand how these scum could kill someone. And I suspected the second time the dissemination of this information was someone's bad joke. The main character understood that the royal family wanted to find the killer, but he really didn't believe that the royal elite would be killed by a bunch of weaklings, so he hastily let the main character go. The main character was really funny and the theme got away with it. Not everything was done in accordance with the young master's decrees as expected, but they were not believed and did not arrest them. And the main character himself said that it was time to admit it. Over the past time, everyone around him has grown. This helped him a lot. Therefore, if one of them reaches the 9th stage of blood and UI, then the hero and Simon tempered the pill to help break through to the boarded-up stage. In addition, those who successfully make a breakthrough will receive a bonus of 20 gold coins. The main character understood that the pill looked into the body of the thing rarely, and the price is, well, he doesn't feel sorry for anything for his subordinates. And in fact, thanks to the 2 of them, he collected a lot of high-level spiritual herbs while clearing the wasteland. And on the night of the medical garden, the heroes were finally able to begin to clean the tiger bone and bear tendon. And everything for preparing the pill, even if these are third-rate ingredients, it was very difficult to drink prepared from them. Therefore, they are not rare enough. If he sells them, everyone will immediately know about it. When news reaches his fiancée and third prince that he was able to prepare this kind of pill, it will be too late for him. At this moment, it is not difficult for them to suppress it. Therefore, it is better to use them exclusively for your own purposes. Now he will put the soul-returning herb into the oven and awaken the soul of the Iron Bull. The stronger the residual soul energy, the higher the frequency of the pill's purification. The main character used soul capture. Pill capture and processing mode has arrived. There was great news. The soul kept the iron tank safe and sound. The improved blood bones are successfully formed to embody the souls of the beast realm, which brings great benefits to cultivation. Using the God transformation technique, she not only washes the bone marrow and cuts the bones, but also removes divine consciousnesses, which is why the main character used God transformation. But the pain brought by this pill can destroy the consciousness of weak-spirited people. In the matter of its implementation, one cannot be distracted by anything. The pill and cigar bones are used only by warriors of the seasoned stage. It is extremely risky for those at the QE and blood stage to take it. But the main character understood that as soon as the pill entered the body, the meridians began to be seriously damaged. Fortunately, the main character has 100,000 years of knowledge of alchemy, which significantly reduced the damage. He had to survive this stage. And he received the 8th level of the stage. He broke through, but he realized that this was not enough. He didn't understand how such a pill did so little good. Her power is still in him, because he could not completely absorb her, and he needed more. He started doing this again and again, and it finally worked. It was his peak of chi and blood, 9th level. The complete feeling is very different from the 9th level he reached 100,000 years ago with his cultivation foundation corrupted. And great news, he could hit 750 kilometers ahead. Now he will not yield even to the Mao of a boarded-up stage. His student walked towards the main character, but he closed her mouth, and he told her to be quieter. No one should hear about his successes in alchemy, Otherwise, he would be everywhere. He will be tied up and executed. The girl did not understand that if the head of the family branch found out that he had become an alchemist of the third region, they would definitely take him and his entire branch of the family to the capital. So she didn't understand what the bad news was. The guy explained that he did not want to become the main force in the main branch of their family, and if he returns to the capital, then he will not be able to stay near her. And he cannot allow this either. In fact, the hero just wants the girl to stay by his side and help him with alchemy, but she believed that this was just a declaration of love. The main character remembered that Yu, his previous life's fiancé, made him so unhappy, so he must take revenge so that this does not happen. Once again in the medical garden, rumors reached the family and the hero that over the past few days he had done a lot of important things, but even so, the father asked his son to stay in the city as long as possible. At least wait until the bride and prince get married. Maybe by now they will have forgotten about him. The main character understood that his father was right. He wanted him not to be the center of attention and to live a good, quiet life in the city. But he told his father that his great-grandmother would soon turn 90 years old and he wanted to go straight to the capital to congratulate her. But he needed his father's permission. As a father, he knew that his son was very attentive and caring towards his ancestors. But if he goes to the capital, his father is afraid that he will become a target for the third prince. And that's exactly what you should avoid. But the son explained that he is a warrior and he can stand up for himself. He is a worthy fighter. Moreover, the son showed his father what he is now capable of, and his father is surprised that his son has fully recovered. Already on the street, the son showed his son that he had helped 5 guards of the medical garden break through to the 9th level. And the weakest among the guards is on the 5th level. And besides, everyone has combat experience in battles. My father was simply shocked that there were 5 level 9 guards. When he left, his son's assistant was the strongest among the guards. The father asked his son what he did to get these pills. Did he really sell all the fruits from the garden? After all, the son allowed a huge cow, and the main treasure of their medical garden will take them years to restore everything. But the son just laughed. The son also showed that he had long ago given the necessary amount of fruit to the main clan. They still have a lot left. Even if they sell the rest, the proceeds for everything will be at least 100,000 gold coins. From 100, it occurred to me that a medical garden could be so transformed. The father also patted his son and said that if he wants to go to the capital, then the father will not mind. But you need to remember his advice. If you quarrel, something happens, then stay cold-blooded. If he can avoid problems, he should avoid them. There is still a month before the bride's ceremony, before the main character leaves. The hero decided to teach his student the technique of making a pill before leaving in order to provide pills for the hunting team. A month and a half later, the main character went on a trip to the capital with the pretext of visiting his great-grandmother and take revenge on the Tench. 6 days later, outside the capital, the hero's assistant turned to him because they had arrived at a rest stop organized by the main clan. After a long walk, they finally had a place to rest, the main character noticed. The guys arrived in the city. They say that 100 years ago this city encountered a demon of its own. The royal family sent 1,000 war to kill the demon, and the city was named the city where demons are killed. After the demon was killed, the city was always filled with sadness, and people believed that this was due to the dense yin energy emanating from many of the dead, so they gradually left. As a result, many refugees dare to live here now, but thanks to the memories from his past life, he knows that dense yin energy is no longer the cause of death. This is a sign that the deceased is about to be born. Even if he knows this, he is helpless, because no one believes that the demon, 6 years ago, again caused unpleasant pain to the human world. The guys came to the main hall of the ancestors of the protagonist's family. This is just a rest stop. Only the assistant was afraid that someone would meet him or some kind of evil spirit. A hand immediately grabbed him, which pulled straight up. Of course, the main character tried to cut it, but he couldn't do it. Then unknown people appeared. The main character said what family he is from, after which the unknown people divorced even more because they do not hate this family with all their hearts. 13 years ago, the Qin family and the Yi family became enemies, to compensate for the loss of the Yi family. In the Qin family, they excluded them, innocent ones from the Qin clan, and sacrificed them to them. And now the main character has come, who dares to shamelessly come and point out disrespect. The main character tried to remember what happened 13 years ago, or rather foreigners. He suspected that now those people could be the group of people who were expelled from the clan during this time. The main character asked the guys what they want to do now. After all, he remembers that it was a group of foreigners who eventually formed a force and repeatedly carried out revenge attacks against the main Chin family. An unknown person asked if the main character was ready to fight a duel, because the loser would be punished either with disability or would represent his family in capitulation. They want the world to know that the Chin family is not just a group of dogs that bully the weak and fear the strong. The main character asked what would happen if he won, and he was told that then he would let his people go too, assistant to his young master. But the main character replied that it was not worth doing this. Looking at their weak appearance, he is able to defeat them. Okay, the hero allowed the guys to hit him first. Only those who can hit him are worthy of being his opponents. The strangers just laughed out loud. And then suddenly the main character received a strong blow right in the chest. What kind of thing are these people who have a threefold purified body who are natural divine power? But the main character was sure that he could still cope, and moreover he probably found it. The stranger again wanted to rush at the main character with the words that there could be a laugh after the battle was over. The main character dodged the moment right before the blow, and used his technique to throw stones at the enemy, but with his hope that he can hurt him. Nothing happened. The stranger only laughed harder. It didn't even scratch him. Well, again the Vogue continued to throw stones. What is already going to be done called this technique is absurd. The clown who doesn't dare fight. As he expected, the Chin family is full of Russians who do not dare to fight. For some reason, the stranger began to feel numbness throughout his body. People around did not understand how it was possible to introduce a guy who was even weaker than they expected. The main character asked his opponent if he was going to admit defeat, or he's going to keep fighting. But the enemy replied that even if he dies, his daughter will never give up and kill the main character, Alana. The hero noticed that his energy even now is not enough to hit him. The main character was grabbed by the legs. Then the infiltrated protagonist asked his father to let him go. The father replied that there would be no fair fight for such guys. After all, he did not win, and in an honest way he used stones to disrupt the work of his points. He secretly covered up his self-improvement. Then the enemy asked the main character, indeed, more than once aimed at perfection during the wrong battle. The hero answered something and continued because he had not given up yet. The main character also said that he cannot be defeated simply by knocking on his legs. His successor again decided to call him a dog. After all, this is a duel between two men, and yet he resorts to such a vile act. Right before the impact, the main character jumped out and started fighting, and he began to laugh because he had just said that his opponent had a hostile divine power. But strength alone is not enough to win, after which the smart hero dealt a crushing blow to the enemy. The main character asked his opponent if he was going to give up because he could continue to block his perfection. Well, the enemy was called not a finger of affairs. He said that let the hero do it. Then the main character agreed and admitted defeat. Everyone around was very surprised. Of course, the main character was told that if he admits defeat, it means that his family has given up. But the main character thought differently. It's just between them and his opponent, and he simply admits defeat. After all, in any case, if one of the parties admits defeat, everything is over and he must go and save his people. The elder brother was picked up and Vitya beat him. His internal injuries did not worsen. The enemy was also surprised because all his wounds were restored. He finally realized that it was all wrong. Now he understands. And his opponent used stones to stop him from cultivating. Instead, he suffered hysteria from his internal injuries during the battle. Because of these internal damages, his strength is unbalanced. He even taught him how to use his power during battle. The main character didn't want to just fight to the death. He approached the ancestors and his family and began to pray. He vowed that the generation would do everything possible to make amends for the ancestors who had been exiled. One day they would ascribe to the genealogy of the family and restore the status of their ancestors. Then there will be no more strangers to the family. As far as the enemy of the protagonist remembers, his adoptive father told him that the Chin family looked at them highly, like men. And he remembered the action of being beaten. People close to him don't see them as people, but now he really feels it. These people are right in front of him and he was wrong. Therefore, the man admitted that he lost, and now the main character can leave. They won't bother him anymore. Suddenly, the adoptive father hit his son right in the back. After all, no one allowed him to give up. But still, the son did not want to admit and continue to fight. As they agreed, he will no longer fight with him. At one point, the main character stopped the stick of his adoptive father and his opponent. The main character came closer to him and asked if the old man was going to continue. And also the main character said that the secretary who was always sent this Chin Dahai from the Chin family. The old man did not understand what kind of person he was. The main character decided to tell everyone around him that he had seen the old man before in the main clan. and he's a member of a clan who pretends to be an outsider. If the protagonist is wrong, this city was not organized by the main clan for them. It was the old man who deliberately brought the main character here. And only now he noticed that the material of this rope was royal black gold. This is something that only the royal family can have. If the old man has this weapon, he must be a relative of the Yi family. The old man was surprised because he didn't expect that you and the Qin family would have such a sharp-eyed and observant little devil as the main character. The old man took off his mask and said that he was an informant from the Qin family. Flower Streak was about to become a member of the Yi family. The main character's family is one of the weakest. For several years, he trained outsiders to deal with members of the protagonist's family, and finally gained the trust of the Yi family and became part of them. She decided to give him a chance, provided that he eliminates the main character and presents it as a gift at the family engagement banquet. He can leave the Qin family and become a true member of the Yi family. The main character did not expect that the dog would be so faithful, and the adoptive father was just pretending all these years. The enemy main character is simply shocked because he deceived them in order to become a servant to another family. The old woman explained that they were all servants, and they should thank the Yi family. Now that the main characters had revealed them and revealed the identity of the old man, he had to be killed. The old man promised that with love, whoever is ready to follow him in order to enjoy the prosperity of the Yi family, you need to kill the main character. The guys began to discuss this because their adoptive father had deceived them, whether they should listen to him. But still they chose the old man. It is money that will help them grow. But it was Leo who woke up. It was the opponent of the main character, so he was not afraid of anything. He was able to scatter his comrades. They all knew the truth, but they were still willing to be the dogs of strangers. They all did not deserve to be members of the Qin family. The old man began to argue. With my son, since he is his adopted one, he only had to obey his own and be raised by the Yi family. But the place of the answer received a blow to the face. The guy stood his ground. After all, the blood of victims to the Qin families flows in his body, and he never intended to kneel before his adoptive father. And he will never be this dog again. The man understood that in fact when he found out that this group of people were strangers. In his memories, he remembered that among the strangers there was a man named Qin Feng. As he remembers, the boy had unexpected talents and great power. If he could win him over, it would be a great help for him. That's why he took action, and used the force to find the main character. The man decided to take his adopted man and just leave. According to him, from now on he is reluctantly forced to communicate with them. Follows them, he at least better eat something. The main character himself was not against it because there were no problems if he wanted to join them. The two guys shook hands. After all, it's better to starve together than to be someone's dog. Suddenly the guys felt like they were all surrounded. It was Yi's army. And the Tench himself also appeared, standing right in front of the main character because they didn't recognize you that the guy had arrived in the city and fought against strangers. But he could not defeat them, and the poet met the end. The main character understood that he had planned this from the very beginning. Lin just laughed at the main character, and he is not more difficult to do anything in this city. After all, he has no influence here. But at this point he came to the capital, and now his sister is the bride of the third prince and family. His influence now is not the same as before the elite troops stood behind. Tempered, the stranger did not understand how they could cope with this army because he could barely cope with one or two. And there were more than 100 of them here. The guys started to attack, and so they fought back. The stranger said that it didn't matter. Even if he dies today, at least he will die with dignity. And the main character understood that he was sorry, because he had just joined them and had encountered so many things. Better with the guy's dignity, they wanted to break through. As a member of the family, and not me, they will die cool rather than live in mediocrity. An old man appeared, who began to clap his palms, and it was funny because a good person would prefer to clap his hands to death than to live. And a good person would rather die in battle than live. Lin wondered what kind of crazy drunkard it was. Then he ordered his guards to kill the guy. When the guard swung his weapon, the old man threw the guard back very far with one finger. I hit the line. Both guys flew far away. A number of farmers immediately decided to attack the Jews, but in an instant he was able to scatter everyone, with one hand. The main character was surprised he was able to lift all these powerful soldiers into the air in one fell swoop. They couldn't understand how he could do it. But the old man simply continued to shout loudly that he was lying and how he would live. After all, he didn't understand how his Qin family could be a slave to another family. He was useless for a long time. But not today, he used the sign. after which he appeared in the air above the city. It was a battle flag. In this case, a plurality of troops appeared. The main character was very surprised, because the battle banner of the Qin family and the battle flag are different from each other. The battle banner can only be used by the Qin family, and only those who have accomplished great military feats for the family have the battle banner. Because once the battle flag is raised, the entire family will enter into a state of preparation for war, and the standard bearer can give the order to start a war at any time, and there are only a few family members who have a battle flag. He did not understand who the old man with the battle banner was. This old man was a great master, but the main character understood that it was not surprising that he could defeat those experts so easily. Even though body experts are strong, the scales are weighed down when facing a great master. Since no one has reached the first stages of the pyramid of strength, this means that the great master's article is the most powerful stage, and this power would have been extremely respected even by the 5 great families, but the men disappeared more than 30 years ago and never appeared again. So the main character did not understand why he appeared this time now. He himself noticed that when he was young and his family began to decline, at that time between families there was a constant struggle 30 years ago from the Yi family. When the efforts were mocked, he could not stand it and led his military detachment to recruit the Yi family. Caused trouble, but the Qin family was afraid of retribution from the royal family, and he was the reason his team was judged. Seeing such a weak, shameful concession, he thought that the Qin family was hopeless. Although his family did not punish him, he punished himself by living in seclusion in this city for today. He sees hope in this young man, and he pointed to the main character. Well, everyone should know something important. Family should be, instead of threatening strangers and killing each other. One day a Strig was disappointed with the leadership of his family, but now that there is such a person in the family, the main character, the future for the family will be better. So he decided to give him the stripes. The old man ordered his army to follow the main character. Everyone waited together for the order. All the guys were waiting for a new order. The main character understood that the master decided to transfer the command of the army to him, so he handed him his banner, but he did not know whether he had any right to this. The old man asked the main character how he deals with those who want to cause him some damage. First of all, the main character thanked the old man for his trust, but he thought it would be a shame to use a battle banner to fight a pile of rubbish. But the main character said that he didn't want his own. He didn't want to start wars between families, but it didn't sound like he didn't need to be tortured. But in fact, he has a more murderous and soul-rending way. Already at the third prince's mansion, the man asked his assistant what the history of the Qin family's battle banner was. After all, he is afraid that this will scare his guests. The bride appeared, who seemed to be crying, and said that the prince did not need to be angry. Maybe something serious had happened outside. But she hoped that the battle flag would not cause any inconvenience to their majesty. She wanted to postpone the engagement banquet. The principal came up and grabbed his bride by the waist, and said that no matter what, the engagement banquet should be celebrated on a grand scale. He made it the subject of the entire people. Suddenly a guard appeared and told the prize that he had brought a report. The Qin family's army arrived and they surrounded the mansion. The main character was sitting on a horse and called one prince. He came specifically to attend the third prince's engagement banquet and congratulate him. Even the main character asked the prince to take his time, and he pointed to the bride's brother, which was Matoto threads and completely naked. It was his gift that they wouldn't refuse. The main character said that the villagers were still invited, and would lose the pig's chastity if they did not allow them to attend the package. Then he would have no choice but to send it back. And then the bride could not stand it and screamed. She did not understand what the main character was saying. She made it clear to her brother to go and kill him, and then the main character caught her at her word. But the girl immediately turned to her husband and said that it was better not to allow the situation to be resolved, and let the main character disgrace himself and be present at the questionnaire. 4 guys went to the banquet. The wedding banquet began when the third principal was asked to make a speech. He informed the lady and gentleman that he wanted to introduce them to the woman he loved more than anything in the world. Not only was she chosen by the moon-shaking immortal palace at a young age, but she is also ready to be a wife standing behind his back, despite the fact that she had such a part. People around believed that this bride was the kindest, clean one, but the hero's assistant understood the truth. She just wanted to be the wife of the third prince, as his young master said. The guys sat together at the same table, and the main character turned to his assistant and asked him not to be like that, because anger makes them lose their sobriety, and a place to swear and not fight. Feng turned to the third prince and said that he had been friends with Xuan since they were children, and knew that she was a good girl. Therefore, I asked to convey my warmest congratulations to the guys. The bride didn't want the guy to say anything, but the third prince allowed him. He would like everyone to hear how good she is. Of course, Hero thanked the prince for permission. In fact, the simple and kind girl goes far beyond his imagination. Then he asked me to listen to him carefully. When the Lin family was weak and glorious, the girl grew up with him. It was she and her father who supported the girl and helped her grow up. And she even entered into a prenuptial agreement with him to pay him off. But it was great that she fell in love with her anyway. The girl didn't want to cause him trouble. Therefore, the girl took the initiative from us with her hands and decided to seal his fighting skills. And he broke off the engagement and she left him. And in the end, the condition of the bride herself improved, and the main character is just the one who helped her become like this, so he cannot interfere in her life. I didn't understand that the cunning main character was pretending to praise her, but in fact he was laughing at her, and he turns everyone against her. The third principal asked the protagonist what he meant by this farce. After all, it was a lie in his opinion, and the main character himself does not know that the girl is not like that in reality. The main character of the movie is in the third prince's plate, and said that even though the prince said that he knows it, the main character knows only one thing: he will bear the consequences. The prince got angry with the main character and ordered him to be arrested. At one point, the main character held up his huge toothpick and said that he was brushing his teeth. All the guards immediately knelt in front of the guy, and the third prince himself was surprised how the battle banner turned out to be far from the family. The prince, one of the guards, told the report that they conducted an investigation and found out that the new standard bearer of the family is a guy. The conscript also told the prince that one of the people who sits next to the main character is a master, their family. Immediately, the prince changed his face and said that he actually wanted to offer the guys a drink to enjoy the meal. The bride understood that this day was terrible. Today her family would be famous in the capital, but now that the main character has come and made a fuss, her family has become the object of ridicule for the entire city. And the main character, she put to him that I am not disgraceful to get away with this. The assistants of the main characters laughed. They managed to get the guys and themselves out. Then another soldiers appeared who took the banner of the main character and planted him on the ground. This was the head of the Qin family. Under the orders of the family's association, they are here to reclaim the family's battle banner and bring the war criminal to the Qin family's law enforcement hall and hold him accountable for his actions. Already in the law enforcement hall, he was sitting on his knees. The reasons given to him were that he used the battle flag to cause a huge commotion at the engagement banquet of the Yi family, which almost caused a war between the media. He was asked if he would admit guilt. The main character explained that Yi attacked him first in the city of demons, so he counterattacked. And since the war hasn't started, they can't call him a war criminal. One of the old men noticed that the main character has a sharp tongue, but he shouldn't think that he can get away with it just because he doesn't have evidence against him. He must know that they are not the ones who will judge him today. And Grandma will do this. The assistant knew that Grandma Lu was the most powerful son in the family. Anyone who falls under her power will be finished, even if he does not see it. A grandmother appeared and named the main character. She said that some people said that he used the battle banner to go to Yi's family and cause trouble. In addition, he violated family laws and arbitrarily all the hickeys by strangers that were written out a long time ago. And so she asked if he was aware of his actions. The main character admitted that he did it. The woman came closer to him and asked him to walk because he didn't do that. The main character named the reasons for the law and the rules of the Yi family have always been pedantic and despicable, so he thinks it's time for a change. The woman got angry, and she raised her staff and asked if these were his real reasons. The assistant really pressed the young master. He understood that he was now confused. Unlike all the local masters, Grandma had the level of a great master. With the help of a woman, she broke the main character, and she even laughed as she expected from her fearless grandson. The grandmother also explained that their family needs a person like her grandson. They need someone as brave as the guy to break unjust laws. She talked with Mr. Yu and understood the main character's train of thought. He told her that the main characters treat all people equally, without discrimination. Besides, foreigners are good people. Grandmother also reminded that soon there will be a competition between the 5 great families, so the main character should take part in it. The main character thanked his grandmother at the tournament itself to develop the wasteland better for the students of the family. If he performs well, he will achieve great success for the main family. Also announced that she would create a new youth team and select a group of young people with experience in the field of land development, and the main character would be their leader. The level of leadership he will eventually be able to achieve depends on his perseverance and work. He was a hero who understood that if he could become a leader, he could build great relationships and gain power. And in the future, he will have a lot in common with the main family. Already in the library. It had been a long time since the main character had been away from his main family, because he was about to learn some new techniques that would help him in the future. At least his memory preserved many techniques in his past life. But learning and mastering new techniques won't hurt. The blood monster knife is a turtle breath technique. He could learn from the book The Blood Monster Knife to fight his skull monsters, and the turtle breath technique can block it. But only 2 books were not enough for him. There were a lot of books in the library here, so that when the money runs out, when he learns it all by heart, he hopes that this day will come as soon as possible. The main character recalled the collection of herbs. He did not understand how the main character could take his place in the tournament. He wanted to fight him. The main character answered him that the man simply did not deserve to be his opponent. As for his place, his grandmother gave it to him. That if he wants to go fight, then he should go to his grandmother. The man thought that the main character was simply afraid. He should have taken an interest in the training that he had been doing for 3 years to participate in the tournament. After all, the secret technique is to crush 800 tons at a time. As soon as the guy decided to rush at the main character, he immediately received a club, that is, and flew far away. The hero was already surrounded by other students. They called the main character their new big brother, and they saw his strength. The main character replied that they could not be his younger brothers, but they should help him find books on the techniques of his arts. Everyone started looking for books together, and most importantly, the hero understood that since so many people were helping him search for books on martial arts, he could save a lot of time. The main character learned about her that the 5 great families would hold an auction. In a few days, the 5 great families will hold an auction to exchange resources and continue their auction prices. In another sense, otherwise it's an auction to come up with a quote for your power. But their family was not dragged to show it, so the guy was afraid that he would simply have to watch the demonstration of strength of other families. But they hope that they will succeed this time. The main character understood that this was somehow strange. Their family is not far behind others, but it simply matters less than the others. Seeing that the family has been so weak all this time, the new generation feels disappointed. If the new generation loses self-confidence, the family will not develop. So the main character told the guys that their family had always hidden its power, and in this they will see the strength of family. He will definitely put out some rare pills. And this year, he will allow himself a 100,000-year-old alchemist to take care of his family. Despite the fact that the entire family had not had an alchemist before, they still did not skimp on the costs of alchemists. This alchemy room was provided only to him. It was completely destroyed. There was no liver, nothing. But then another woman appeared. She answered to help you hero create a pill, so she asked him to give her instructions. The main character greeted her. He remembered that the family distributed the alchemy room according to the strength of the herbal gatherers. And looking at this room, he didn't know if this girl could be the weakest. He didn't think so, but she carefully classified the herbs according to their draining properties. And if she had not been experienced, she would not have assessed them so accurately. But for some reason, she didn't force her to work in the worst office. So she didn't know if there was some hidden meaning. As long as the protagonist has an iron furnace to prepare the pill, he will not interfere with anything that does not concern him. The first thing he asked was the girl's name. She introduced herself as Huaju, a collection of herbs from the Qin family. The main character even accepted the bowl when he heard her name. After all, her surname is Hua. Perhaps she is the granddaughter of the old man Hua. She noted something, and there is, but she was surprised how she knows the hero's grandfather. He once again said his name and said that her grandfather was a hero, collecting herbs for the family for many years. He did not understand how the girl herself could be assigned such a simple house. The girl even started crying because she had known about the main character for a long time, because her grandfather constantly talked about him. She called him to introduce him to his grandfather. The main character ran to his grandfather. This grandfather at that time was the best herbalist in the family. An excellent herbalist can collect many high-quality herbs for the family. The hero also had a little grandfather who taught him how to collect grass and how to use it. It was he who was his mentor, and without him, he was not the person he is today. But today the grandfather himself asked the guy why he suddenly came here. He was simply shocked by how the man looked now, so he ran up to him and asked who did this. His granddaughter explained that after collecting herbs, she learned that he had become an alchemist. He remembered that her grandfather taught the main character everything, and he came and beat him too. And they took the maiden's house and gave her this shack, and also the girl did not have money to treat her grandfather. Grandfather explained that Mr. Feng's family had been transferred to Yuning City, and they were already in an unenviable position. That he asked his granddaughter not to cause problems for Mr. Feng. The hero understood that it all happened because of him. Therefore, he promised to sort it out completely. I sat there for him. Already in the largest alchemical room. The collection of herbs saddled and stung that he was a hero who beat him and also took away his students. The general manager of the Jiadan district's herbal collection department looked at him and said that after this he would suppress more of the lead characters and force him to settle down. But then, unexpectedly, he was the hero of everyone and a collection of fucks immediately appeared in front of him. After all, he didn't expect such a hero to come here himself. Without further questions, the main character immediately hit the guy in the face, after which the Yulin flew far away. The main character explained that a real man does not fight helpless people, so he suggested that the guys go to all the herb collecting competitions. If the girl behind him wins the competition, she will take this room. And if she loses, then the main character will be at their disposal. The girl didn't really want to do this. After all, she didn't believe in herself. In the past, her grandfather collected grass, and she only watched him and taught him. She was sure that the main characters would be in trouble because of her. But he believed in her that she could do it. How could he lure them into a trap if he didn't ask himself as bait? Already on the street, the manager was holding a meeting, and she said that the time had come for the traditional herb-picking competition. They will go to the barren mountain for 2 o'clock hours, and the one who collects the highest level herbs will win. The competition began, and the collections immediately ran in all directions. The girl was able to find the second wound's spiritual grass. If she takes it, I'll take it. She'll even be able to play. But they tore it out right in front of her nose. Other collections. The main character watched this and asked the girl not to take it into her head. She learned from her grandfather that second-rate spiritual grass has meaning. If they all get it together, they will defeat it. Again, the girl tried to take the grass, but then other collections caught her and again did not give her a chance. The girl was already desperate. She understood that she had lost. Let down the main character. But the main character rhymes to her that there is still a chance. And if you use Grandpa's method to find him with your heart, she will definitely be able to do it. Her grandfather is her mentor, so it is impossible for her to fail. The girl has a huge motivation because she can't play because she is the heir of her grandfather, and she will find him. She saw one grass right at the top of the mountain. She started trying to get in there. Everyone around watched this. They laughed because the girl was trying to risk her life because it was impossible. They collected everything that could be collected, and they were sure that she would not be able to find anything. But the girl believed in herself. She believed that she could win because her grandfather taught her how to collect. She should believe in herself. And this was the last hope for victory. After inspection, it was discovered that what Zhuo brought was nothing else. A bunch of ordinary weeds. The worst thing about them is first-class spiritual herbs. The girls explained that she lost, and that she really is the worst herbalist. Well, the main character didn't want to give up. He took 2 torches and threw them right on the table where the grass was. The main character's strength is that real gold is not afraid of fire. He wants them to keep their eyes open and take a good look. They didn't notice the grass, which seemed to be of the highest grade, even more than 3rd grade. After the fire, it turned into a 4th grade magical grass. This is a fire stream flower. It was the rarest herb of all the regions. The main character said that the fire stream flower is as harmful as dry grass and grows on the slopes of the mountain. To get to it, you need not only keen eyesight, but also great courage. Many of them had to find him, even after identifying the girl, so they are not the best collections. The manager wanted to buy this grass right away. He is ready to pay a straight girl 500 gold coins for her. Everyone was surprised to see it was more than 2 years' salary, and even some beads are less than 10 years old. The girl understood that she would pay her 500 gold coins in order to buy her grandfather medicine for several years. But the main character interrupted the guys, and he said to wait because the man was trying to fool the girl. Firestream is being sold at auction where only the most experienced herb collectors can find it. The main character explained that he was ready to buy this flower for 10,000 gold coins, which is twice the market price, so that she could buy her grandfather's medicine and sufficient lives. Also, the main character approached the girl and explained that his team needed grass collections. From now on, he would take care of his grandfather so that she could collect grass lines. She immediately agreed. The manager of the field, and he thought that this was impossible. If she continued to work for him, he would give her a better room than this one. It will also provide better places to collect the grass, not like this garbage. And he pointed his finger at the Atom Man. The girl explained that she did not want to work with them. She would work with Mr. Feng. After all, this is the first person who believed in her talent after her grandfather. He also helped her and her grandfather. Well, heroes, there was just another thought. Finally, he will receive a powerful collection of herbs from you. You are in the future when he is not in the medicinal garden. The girl can collect spiritual herbs with his team. And also the main character showed the other guys the way out. So from now on, the room will belong only to the girl, asked to leave the estate. The chief was the first to approach the stove. He noted that this was indeed the most luxurious alchemy room in the Qin family. It was really good. With this furnace, he can refine high-level pills to flash them for auction. But before that, he uses the Firestream flower to improve his strength. Because the healing properties of the Firestream flower can help a person penetrate his body, although its main use is to defeat inner demons. The main character crushed a flower and screamed juice into it. However, there would be a tournament soon, and he understood that he wanted to show a good result at it. And so he had to take the risk. A second personality of the main character has appeared, who grabbed him by the throat. She said that the main character is a sinner who could not save the life of his family, so he cannot deserve to survive. He should have died a long time ago. Feng understood that he was in pain. He could not believe that such a demon lived inside. They say that if a person kills his inner being, his body will also die. But it doesn't matter, he can still defeat him. Only the main character wanted to bear the blow of his copy. She blocked it. The demon began to attack the main character. The main character forgot that his inner demon is 100,000 years old. He was too strong. He thought he was already going to die. But then I heard the voice of Mr. Moldo. He began to remember his assistant student and also the granddaughter of his mentor, which his father and other guys believed in him. Unexpectedly, Demon was able to inflict damage on him. He didn't have to die. He was ready to offer all the effort he had. He also works hard to get any chance. And even if he dies, even if he is doomed, they will never give up on anyone. He is a hero. He has come back his body. He has finally broken through. Here is the body strengthening realm, and now he will be able to fight with the 4th level body strengthening experts. Now doing alchemy will be much easier for the whole family. The father of 2 brothers appeared, who scolded the main character for occupying the most important alchemical room without warning. After all, the action is approaching, and the island family needs an alchemy room to make pills. Now that he was trying to sabotage the auction, Mushi wasn't interested in what kind of punishment he deserved. The hero tilts and introduces himself, and he explained that he might have been an alchemist's student, and he borrowed alchemy from someone just to prepare the family's pills in time so that the family could compete with other families. The father was surprised because the guy had only studied chemistry for a few days, so he couldn't think that he deserved such and such a hero more than everyone else. Then the hero showed the box where there were numerous quantities of pills. He had made them over the past few days. This pill is for strengthening the body. In addition, they are of the highest quality. The guys knew that even a good alchemist might not be able to achieve such quality. They still didn't want to give up the alchemy room. Then the main character said that she still had class pills, and he was interested in whether he could convince them now. They blindfolded themselves so that the glow would not blind them. After opening the box, a huge beam of light began to shine into all the children's eyes. The main character approached the old man and explained that these are not only 3rd-class pills, but also this. The father told his sons to shut up. They didn't tell you it was fake. After all, they belong to the same generation as the main character, but there is such a big difference between them. The man shook hands with the main character and said that the room would be considered as a reward from the main family, and he will go with him to represent the family. Hero thanked the elders for their help and his kindness. The auction has arrived. Only powerful families have the right to vote. The 3rd prince provided 50 body-strengthening pills, and the Yi family offered him 40,000 gold coins, as well as a large bone bow fortified by the family for 20,000 gold coins. And also their family would pay 300,000 gold coins for 7th-grade pills. The 3rd prince looked at the main character. If he dared to come here today, then the prince was willing to make his family lose face, to avenge the shame at the banquet. But then the guy realized that a person in the Qin family in the last auction saw the llama as a man when nothing worked out for them. But this time something is different. It was the face of a winner. We just wanted to inform you that the dream will be over. The main character asked his family to wait because they have something to show. The man asked the hero if they had any good things, but they couldn't come and sell them at Sony if they had any. The main character went up to the podium and took out his pill. He told all the guys that ordinary body-strengthening pills are not effective for warriors, and his body-strengthening pills, which have a quality of 8 units, can effectively increase strength. The third prince laughed. He understood that this is a wonderful pill, but it is only in 1 copy, and his 50 pills were better than his 1. All around the guy started laughing not so much as 1 pill, and they told him that if he doesn't have the goods, he shouldn't disgrace his family. The hero explained that if he only had 1 pill, it would be really funny, but this is one of his collection of pills. Behind the guy, they showed 3 boxes of pills. The main character of the spring that there were hundreds of them. An ordinary family like his was somehow able to create 8th quality pills. The third prince was surprised. Everyone in the group understood that such quality and quantity of pills could significantly improve the army of families, so everyone suddenly wanted to buy them. The third prince offered 200,000 gold coins, and anyone who opposes this litter will be considered enemies of the imperial family. The main protagonist agreed with the third prince or continued his pills. After all, in fact, these are extra pills that they don't need, and a third of the prince think that he won the deal. So the main character decided to show the main lot. Everyone around was very surprised because they thought that 100 high-quality pills were the main lot. The main character showed the children Alexei in 3rd grade. We were already disappointed because the third one was not exactly a grand finale. There was just a family who also came showering similar socialist revolutionaries. But when the main character decided to show the guys the elixir, even the beast got out of there. This is an illusion created by changing the elixir. It is an extremely rare modified elixir. Regular 3rd grade is nothing compared to this. The old man understood that it was majestic. When the hero told him that the elixir of changes was 3rd class, he asked the hero's moon to accompany him. He's glad he did the right thing. A third of the prince did not understand how this was possible. He can only suspect that his family hired a master alchemist. Only everyone wanted to immediately prevent him from buying the elixir. Already the third prince ordered everyone to stop because he was ready to buy it on behalf of his father, and anyone who tries to take it away will be accused of not being under the imperial family. Then the main character asked to give him 500,000 gold coins for the elixir. An assistant approached the third prince and said that due to his purchase of 100 pills for body cereals and his reckless spending, he had already spent all the money allowed by the emperor. After the main character heard this, he called the principal a big ass if he doesn't have money and also called him a clown. In the end, the Qin family auctioned the pill for 700,000. It became the most respectable family. And Ye's family became a laughing stock at this auction. The old man believed in the main character. Their family hasn't had such a good time for many years. This time he brought great glory to their family, and they will celebrate his great achievements as well. But he shouldn't be too happy because he was in the spotlight. This has its advantages and disadvantages. Today he shone and will be remembered by many. For example, the third one is accepted. His development is usually wanted by everyone. He has bodyguards, and at this level, this person can defeat many. Also a new member of the Bai family. His martial arts and martial arts skills are so strong that he has no rivals below the 6th level from the body-strengthening realm. And Nangong also says that when she fights, no one can defeat her. And also Situ Xuan from the Situ family. He relies on the fighting style of his ancestors and is good at killing, which is why he is considered an extremely dangerous enemy. Therefore, the old man is sure that the woman herself and the last guy are the most dangerous, that the mountains must be careful. The main character understood that the elder seemed to think that the third prince was the most ordinary, but on the contrary, he is his biggest threat. He remembers that in his previous life, the third prince had a strange ability to hide his strength. No one can tell what he's up to and the countdown has begun. He has a lot of work to do before the big tournament, and he has even more work to do before he hardens his body. 3 days later, a banquet was held to celebrate the Qin family's grandmother's birthday, and representatives of the 4 great families arrived. Grandma thanked everyone for their greetings. It was milking her that was most of it. A bride appeared and said that all 4 main families gave gifts, but the girl personally did not see that the grandmother's family gave her anything. She believed that this family could not even give her anything. As she expected, in terms of wealth, the Qin family cannot compare with the Ye family. It was a wise choice to abandon the Qin family, the girl thought. But then the main character appeared and brought a gift for his grandmother. This is a 9-point quality body strengthening pill. But then the bride entered into a dialogue and said that her family had donated 300,000 gold coins. And compared to the main character's gift, this is something. And it's not even worth mentioning. The hero said that he was still not finished. And for some reason the bride begins to show off. But behind the guy there are no longer any boxes. 10 body strengthening tablets, top quality reaching 9 points. This is his gift to his grandmother. These are all pills. These tablets are worth 100 or millions of gold coins. He, the hero, came closer to the girl and said that she abandoned his family when she won the heart of the prince from the Moonlight Palace. And now that he has become a chemist, he hopes for her. She shouldn't marry about her choice. The grandmother thanked her grandson because this was the best gift she had ever received. The 11th noticed that this young man gave a lot for their 7, that the grandmother was not enough to satisfy his one request. And this was more of a part, so he had to think carefully, come, then say what he wants. The main character said that since Elder Yu provides him with so many favors, his request is that when he returns to Cloud Shadow City in the future, that is, he would like Elder Yu to go with him and stay there for several years. The elder got angry because the guy had exceeded his capabilities. The main character said that he knows that the elders have less than 3 years to live. I wondered if he was going to die. He, the hero, confirmed his words. He explained that his master alchemist saw it, but he also said that there was a way to increase life expectancy until he went to the city of Cloud Shadows. To protect him. In his previous life, the elder died after 3 years and the loss of the elder's strength. Sculptures must be taken into account, rules to great pressure on the family. So before the main character becomes strong, the family still has to rely on the old man to support them for a while. Laughed. After all, it doesn't matter whether he comes to protect the others, the old man also wants to live a few more years. The main character asked his grandmother one more request. His right-hand man, Qin Fanjiang, is why he hopes that he will also be included in the tournament. The grandmother understood that the guy was asking to join a stranger's family, and she pulled him out of the possibility that in this way he would face a challenge from other family members, and so she asked him if he was sure he would agree to this. The hero's right-hand man was shocked by the information that he could make some contribution to their family. And then a voice was heard calling a stranger, and the main character on the street. There were many experts and students of considerable level there, but you didn't accuse the guy of violating the rules, and he also asked his family to give him a place to participate in the tournament. The main character answered the guys that they are just boys. If they want to quit, then they should wait until tomorrow. But then the students brought along the main character's assistant, who was not in the best condition. And then the student asked the main character if he really wanted to give until tomorrow. After which he showed the sled. The assistant asked his young man more than once because he must preserve his strength. Immediately, the divided protagonist struck a gray blow from the student. He didn't want to teach him a lesson, but since he is so determined, he deserves it. Everyone around believed that the hero was weak. Also, Slaughter jumped the right hand of the protagonist, which also scattered the disciples. Guys, the questions depend on which hero scattered everyone. They watched how the main character was able to defeat everyone, and they are all first and second level body strengthening experts. They were surprised that they were at such a high level. The guys had already sat down on their knees, and not until that moment they thought that the right hand of the protagonist was the strongest and were not afraid of him. But apparently their main enemy was the main character. Half a month later, a tournament began between the 5 major families. The protagonist's family is preparing to take part in a wasteland exploration tournament this year. The family has been at the bottom of the rankings for 20 years now. These 20 years were spent congratulating their families, so the elder promised them all now that if anyone ranked in the top 4 this year, he would give them the reward of being able to possess the family's secret techniques. Not only that, but much more, he would give him the position of leader of the youth team for the development of land. Although the protagonist's grandmother guaranteed him leadership, there are different types of leaders, and he must reach the highest level possible. However, there are a larger number of people with high levels of body strengthening. But he trained hard for half a month, but he couldn't even reach this level. He doesn't know if he can achieve good results in the tournament. But the time had come and the guys all rode together. At the beginning of the tournament, the students of the 5 great families will be sent into the depths of the wasteland on carts without a coachman. But the monsters of the wasteland are extreme and compete with each other to kill people. If there are very few masters who can lay each year, the competition for mastery is much stiffer than anyone can imagine. With the guys at the strip was the same man who beat up the main character's assistant. The guy said that he would go to another family, It's better than fighting alongside the Qin, but one person called him a weakling. He was ranked 27th. Also another family's 34th place and 31st place. The main character called them weaklings, and the other student is much better off with him. Suddenly the card overturned and a monster fell on the guys. It was a giant swamp crocodile. The main character called Fenya because they had to go. But then a 7th place appeared, which called the hero's head weak because he wants to escape. He is like a powerful member of a big family. If he is confronted, he has no right to retreat. Fenya was very glad that now he would watch how the strong guys would fight the monster. But also, all the people were defeated. The guy understood that this was almost likely the end. It was all over. He didn't understand that as soon as you moved in empty, the support disappeared. But then the monster was stopped by the main character. After the main character killed the crocodile, he grabbed Fenya and dragged him along because they had to escape. But the boy didn't understand why they were running away because they killed the monster. The main character explained that the swamp crocodile is allergic to blood. When a person is standing in a swamp with a swamp crocodile, if you don't hurry up and run away as soon as the blood appears, you will become a snack or other crocodiles. Several of the same giant swamp crocodiles appeared here. Fenya finally realized that the main character is the strongest in their generation. As a result, he belongs to a guy I don't even know him, and that's why he almost died. The guy decided to ask the main character for some reason who saves him, but the main character replied that they are just a family, and he can't find a more compelling reason. The guy would never consider the main character as a member of the family, but he recognized him as a member of the family. And he had an equally strong recognition for him, like an older brother. Whereas empty in the end, the competition comes down to how many monsters each person kills. So the third prince had to focus on leaving. He set a reward for the destruction of the Qin family, so he asked if there were people who were willing to agree to this mission. 11 assistants pointed to one guy who was called the best of the Situ Xuan family. The prince believed that this would make the main character regret that he had opposed his family. 2 guys shouted for help because they were pinned by monsters right on the rock. Fenya watched this. He suggested leaving immediately after this so as not to risk his life. But the main character stopped him because he understood where these 2 guys came from. They were from the Nangong family, because this is the only family that is friends with them. He can give them a helping hand. The main character asked to borrow a guy, and therefore pushed him with his foot right towards the monster. Here the main character went straight to the animals and was able to subdue them. The main character was lucky because he brought with him a pill that tames the monsters and threw them into the mouth with a black printer while the guy attracted their attention. A huge black panther also appeared behind the guys. Fenya, of course, asked the hero if he had any other lemon pills, but the main character explained that the pills are only effective against small monsters. The main character used moonlight to attack the panther. In the end, they killed the panther. 2 guys gave the main character a gift for saving them. And after the tournament, they will definitely tell their families about what the main character did. And they will never forget it. But then 2 guys fell dead because there were 2 blades sticking out from their backs. Xuan is right on the tree. He called it irony. He did not imagine the main characters as insects that had not yet developed their bodies. After all, there is no need to do anything to kill him, and he will leave him with another family. Arrows immediately flew from the guys. They barely had time to dodge. The guys were accused of killing members of their family. Fenya understood what kind of person was not far from them and was trying to kill them. It was Xueqin. Shepherds call her a ghost because she leaves no traces even in the snow. She can fly using her fast movement skill. Then the couple suggested that the main character quickly run and hide, because this girl is dangerous, and the main character of the pages hides and will die. The main character just turned to the girl and called her to kill him. He decided to just stand still and wait for her blow. And then the arrow appeared right in front of his face. He noticed that she was really strong, but the arrow passed him by, and then the main character found himself behind her. After all, he found her. That the hero masters the art of turning into a god in order to strengthen his 6 senses, as long as the level of development is not much higher than him. He can figure out exactly where she is. And so, he now decided to calmly explain to the girl what happened. The girl lay confused. She didn't understand how the main character of the fly could find her and what level he was at now. If he wanted to kill her, then she was on it. The main character agreed with this, even though he came here to kill people. But he understood that he was not the first to start, and pierced the girl's head. 2 guys were wounded. The first was called Shu, and the second was Qiang. Well, Xuan did not appear behind him. The main character's right hand was able to counter-attack him. The killer did not understand how a person with the 4th level of body strengthening wounded him while he was on the 6th. The two guys asked Fan why he saved them. Well, he replied that it was all thanks to the main character who taught him to do this. Xuan said that he died as a hero. He set him up and he died at the hands of a girl. The guys next to the right hand of the main character were surprised, and the girl, the strongest young fighter in the family, with her blade and strength, if she attacks him, he will surely die. Fanya didn't want to believe it. After all, it is impossible that the main character died so easily. Xuan climbs a tree and begins to attack the fighter. Straight back. Xuan decided to finally tell the guy to think more about himself. Otherwise, in the end, he will lose his head. He was already ready to swing his hand to finish off the guy. But then someone else appeared. This was the main character. He was ready to kill the guy and throw his body around fiercely. Xuan decided to finish off the guy who was under him. But then the main character appeared and was already flying towards him. And with one blow, he threw the guy very far. Xuan was surprised where the main character got such strength. He was, after all, at a level lower than himself. Afterwards, the guy decided to get up and immediately disappeared from sight. He again ended up right on the tree above the main character. Jumped right on the main character. The last thing Xuan managed to say was that his family lost because they care so much about each other. Hihiro just smiled. He was next to the guy. And with the help of a tree, he was able to kick the killer straight down into the ground. The guys around him did not believe that he could really do it. When the main character went straight to the guy, he explained that they were some kind of idiot who could only use brute force. Xuan stood with a bloody face. Only now did he realize that the main character was using his statement to make him think that he was actually below, but the main character was on a level lower than him, so the guys understood how he acquired such skills in martial arts. But he understood that there was and would be able to fight directly. He would use long-range attacks. And after all, the technique of using the dagger was passed down from generation to generation of his family. He simply put the heroes on the spot and was able to deflect the blades without even lifting a finger. The guy realized that the main character was superior to him in the technique of hidden weapons. The two guys were simply in shock. They didn't understand what had happened, and was the hero really incredibly fast for them, after all? He was able to fight off the powerful daggers of the Situ family. Well, this was also confirmed by Fenya himself, who told them this earlier about the surprises of the main characters. The hero explained that Situ's skills with light weapons were simply child's play compared to his moonlight skills, and even physical skills. The main character was right behind the guy and was ready to strike, according to which the swan flew very far. The guy could barely stand on his feet. He understood that he couldn't just die, so he launched fireworks straight into the sky. Also, finally, the guy said that he had not underestimated the hero. He saw that he did not expect that he would turn out to be the strongest member of his family. But since he hid this strength, there is nothing to blame him for. Then the third prince appeared with his soldiers, who asked the guy why he called him. The 3D principal hit the guy and called him, but he didn't finish his work, so he asked again why he called him. Total group sprue given why the third prince is here, and the main character understood that the third prince was the most powerful opponent in the wasteland. Xuan told the prince that he was not as weak a hero as they really thought, so he needed his help. But the prince said that obviously this is so, but he did not expect that he would be beaten so badly. Two guys wanted to devour themselves so that the main character and his guys could escape. They were willing to buy them some time, but he, the hero, didn't understand what the guys were talking about. They were all from the Qin family. There was no difference between them. The main character also used fireworks, which gave a sign. Well, basically, he just laughed because the army is not allowed into the tournament. That is why he ordered his armies to surround the guys. They were already rushing at them, but then they started shooting at the guys. Straight and bow, the third prince was not at a loss as to what happened to his people. A girl came, as the main character asked. It was Jue. The main character understood that the guys wanted to frame his murder so that the girl's family, who is the only good friend of his family, would oppose him. But he communicates. He was able to explain this to the girl. He asked her to look at the weapons that killed her people. Since the girl found out the truth, she decided to help him. That is why she asked for forgiveness for misunderstanding him, and also said that if he had any trouble, he could call her at any time. The prince was surrounded by archers. Finally, the prince decided to use his trick again, that the main character would hurt him, and he is the royal family. It would only be worse for the main character, so I told him to deal with it and leave. The main character understood that the third principle can be different whenever his heart desires. But it seems it's no longer fun when it's his turn to die, so he ordered the archers to shoot. The third prince, of course, tried to dodge, but they still hit her. He didn't understand when it was possible because usually he could wriggle out, so now he couldn't do it. Well, the main character knew about his skills and his past life, but if the third prince uses his secret skill, they may be defeated. So he must find a way to defeat the third prince in one fell swoop. Blowing out the smoke and calling the girl was just a disguise, and its purpose was to make the third prince think that he only released it as smoke. But the smoke was taken from the fog forest. Its effect would not appear immediately. After all, it slowed down the third prince's movement. The main character dealt a very strong blow, basically hitting him right on the head. Why did the earth even bend? Zhui immediately turned her attention to the murderer of her family. After all, he must pay the price for murder. The main character understood that the murder of the prince and the Sit went well. Here he finished off his most important and powerful enemies. Now all he could do was increase their rating. Therefore, they need to catch as much prey as possible. The hero has eliminated the biggest problem. Now he can finally prepare for the hunt. Behind him, the prince himself woke up and struck him right in the heart. The main character was surprised. He thought the third prince was dead. And also the Sith threw his dagger at the main character. The third prince decided to use his third skill, and the soldiers who were dead began to get up. The main character held and did not understand if he had really released something. This is the secret skill of the third prince caused by death. As far as he remembered, this skill could turn someone who had just died into a warrior who was not afraid of death. Although the price is the user's lifespan, its effect is very powerful. The third prince decided to rush at the girl, but she charged her arrow with horror and said that even if he wanted to live, he was only at the 4th level of body strengthening expert, so he would not be able to keep up with her. But then the third prince was blown away by the girl's crushing blow, causing her bow to break into 2 parts. Princip explained that in fact the army was ordinary people whom he led to show weakness in front of the enemy. Because he is actually a level 8 body strengthener. He is stronger than all of them combined. The third prince approached the main character and told him that the time had come to repay the shame that he had come to him earlier. Only the third prince wanted to strike and the hero was able to return. But the fan understood that this was impossible. He was very strong, and then he even gave him a face. And until he reaches the next stages, he cannot fight at all. The third prince decided to act on a different tactic. He decided to kill one person from the protagonist's family. God, everyone was already lying there dead. The main character was very angry. After all, he promised them that they would all get out of here alive. He abandoned his brother to the third prince. Then he was hit by the ball. And then it flew right around his neck. He, the hero, believed that this was most likely the end. Well, then Fenya appeared and stopped the sword with his body. Finally, the guy said that she trusts the main character, and he recognizes him and the future of the family is in his hands. He is the one who deserves to lead it. A few hours ago, 2 guys were talking to each other. The full hero turned to the guy, and he said that when they fought with panthers, Fen said that he did not want to be in the guns, so he asked the guy who he wanted to fight for. Fen that he should fight for someone I trust, to support and protect his family. When he found that man, he vowed to honor him for the rest of his life. And here this guy lay in front of the main character. After all, once again someone died before the eyes of the main character of this life. Zhu screamed at the main character to just run. After all, the guy's sacrifice should not be in vain. But it was already too late. The third principal went to the main character, and was already straining his sword right at his head. But he was not able to restore them all with his own hand, and all he said was that it was enough, but this time he won't run away. The main character struck the third prince. Xuan also appeared, who wanted to kill the main character. Well, the heroes grabbed him and also dealt him a crushing blow. Then the third prince immediately stood up. It's not where the main character got such strength from, and how he was able to kill the guy just now. It seems that you have grown a lot in strength. Immediately the main character dealt another blow to the third prince. Why, even his teeth fell out. The main character again grabbed the third prince and broke his arm. The third principal understood that he would most likely lose now, so he ordered his army to destroy the main character. The soldiers at the same moment rushed at the main character. Seiwei began to beg the main character to just run away. He had just been seriously injured, and if he continued to fight, he would obviously die. But then the soldiers surrounded the main character and already pointed their swords at him. The main character explained that he ran away many times when faced with strong enemies. But perhaps later I felt regret. He didn't understand the meaning then. Today, he didn't even try to die, and he was ready to drag the third prince along with him. The main character fought with zombies. The third prince did not understand what these powers were and why he did not die. Even though he was wounded, the wound was fatal. It is as if later, death eluded him. You are the Imperial training, the principal of your voice. He is from the Imperial family. Does that mean he is the king of the whole world? He was 10 years old then. His father answered him, of course not, and they only pay the kings. But the real kings are those who experience an aura called the aura of the Emperor. And even if he meets someone who is clearly his, the main thing is that he sees his aura. He won't be able to do anything except be afraid and surrender to it. And therefore I believed that the front one was now one of these people. Zhu, that the hero's mother's body was full of wounds, and he would suggest so. And yes, even if he kills the third prince, he will die of exhaustion. Therefore she asked him to evaluate it again, because there is no point in dying this way. Maybe there is another solution. Right before the blow to the third prince, the main character stopped abruptly and said that it was her way. How am I out of this? He said that he would not kill the third prince. After all, he must do what he tells him. Already in the cave, the third prince looked exhausted, and I swear to the main character that I did everything that he told him. Later, the main character told the third prince to leave. Suddenly, the main character began to cry because it was the girl's words that reminded him of the third prince, his secret shadow that he could save with his family member, at least for one day. And it was very good, he thanked the girl. The girl did not understand whether he was swimming with his family members. Since childhood, she has witnessed the death of her family members, until she gradually became indifferent to the life and death of her family members. But the hero seems to really care about her family members. The main character asked the girl a favor to take care of her family for one day. When they asked him what he had done, he replied that he would go to the endless sea for a flower. He has a reason to go there, and anyway, his friends are in her care. In the endless sea, the flower has legendary medicinal materials. He must find them within one day. Then he will prepare medicines to treat everyone else. This is the only way to save them. The soldiers found the third prince, who was completely beaten. When a soldier approached him, he dried him and absorbed his strength. The third principal understood that since he could not get rid of the main character head-on, then he had to get rid of him in a roundabout way. It also takes us to the first number in the Bai family. He couldn't handle monsters alone. Then the main character himself appeared. The guy in the tree immediately gets angry with the hero's wave. After all, he was with him at the auction. Unexpectedly for the guy, he was a hero, scattering monsters left and right. After all, he was in a hurry. The main characters came to the main gate. Only the guy wanted to warn the main character that these are toxic formations, and it is impossible to break him. The master of alchemy of the 4th level and his people once tried to break him, but they all turned into monsters. The main character didn't care because he is an alchemist with 1,000 years of experience. Therefore, he ordered the gates to open, and so they did. Lenina notices that at the end of the endless sea of flowers, medicinal herbs grow. Therefore, the main character thinks that the end of the sea flower should be in this month. As soon as he needs the materials, he prepares the medicine. But to the surprise of the main character, when he walked a little further, he discovered that there was nothing. He began to rush to look for her, but others can die at any moment. And then the thorns grabbed his grandson too. The plants moved. It was pharmacy. The plants called him a thief because he shouldn't have broken into this endless sea of flowers. The main character tried to explain why he came here. To find herbal medicine to save his plant friends only. He's a brave man. If he said that his greed accompanied him to enter here, the plant would have been believed. But he uses such a flimsy excuse as saving people, which was simply ridiculous to him. Ligera once again explained that he wants to save his friends for 10 days. So if the plant gives him the necessary medicinal herbs, he will do whatever she wants. Then the plant asked an interesting question whether the guy is ready to save his friends at the cost of his life. The main character explained that this is impossible. The flower is disappointed, guys. After all, the main character said that he was not ready to sacrifice, but there was no reason why he wouldn't do it. Rather, he meant that if he died, no one else could save them. And he is the only one in this world who can save them. So survival is an important goal for him, if the plants did not believe him, and he can conduct his poison into his body. But they will have to wait until he finishes treating his comrades. Then he can kill him at will. Plants explained that if the main character has even a drop of regret, he will die. He is ready to conduct a combination of poisons with him, and if he lied, he will obviously die. After all, he was a hero who didn't expect him to end up like this, that he will turn into trash. But at least he can cure everyone before he becomes a monster, and that's what makes him happy. Suddenly everything disappeared. and the flower began to laugh because it was all just a test. In fact, everything he saw before was just an illusion. It was a real endless sea of flowers. After all, the flower did not expect that he would actually accept death for his friends, because she did not notice the plant, not a trace of regret in his heart. So he really admires him. He is the spirit of the owner of the sea, or that in order to prevent evil people from seizing power over the Sea of Light, he conducts tests for 1,000 years. Finally, the one who successfully passed the test and entered the Sea of Flowers appeared. The two were allowed to take whatever the main character wanted. He understood that what caused his collections seemed to be the word of the owner of the flower sea cutting to evaluate. There were plenty of high-quality or medicinal herbs around. Now he has obtained the herbs needed to prepare the antidote, and all he needs to do is build a path to prepare it. The spirit decided to help the main character, and he pulled out the ground-level alchemy furnace directly from the ground. Alchemical furnaces are divided into 4 levels: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. The highest level in the Qin family has never exceeded the yellow level. By using this oven, the cooking quality will be greatly improved. It will definitely be able to cure them. On the western border, people were interested in who would win the tournament. Vova of the family. Ye believed that victory would clearly be before his eyes. It didn't matter who took first place. He just hoped that everyone could return safe and sound. A man came from the wasteland and said that there was a wave of monsters and family members would all die there. In the middle of an endless sea of flowers, a wave of monsters ran straight towards the main character, but he had already left there. He was a hero and understood that he just couldn't stop, even when the man on the tree said so. These friends will die. With one blow, he knocked back a large number of monsters. It looks like he is actually a real monster himself, which scattered the monsters themselves back and forth, could break through the monsters, which also flew at him. Mortgage heroes got involved with Ling. The Qin elders surrounded everyone. The guards understood that it was basically impossible for the student to get out of there alive, and the head shouldn't leave. But he got angry and ordered the watchman to let him go. He saw the third prince come out, and after that he began to laugh because the head of the Qin family was delusional that someone from the entire family was still alive. He asked the princess to stop dreaming. After all, the only one who survived brought it, in his words. The prince also threw a bag of precious crystals, which were very valuable. Its elder heads began to praise the guy. After all, now that His Highness is the only one who has returned, his high court receives first place, unlike families in which there are no living ones. Well, unexpectedly, several carts from the Qin family appeared. They explained to the head of the family that something was thanks to the main character, and no one from their family died. They explained that the main character returned to save them from monsters. He was afraid until he saved them. And not only that, he set out to rescue survivors from other families. The main characters, other people, asked why he didn't save anyone from Ye and Situ's family, and the third principle itself was given, and this will happen a lot. He probably caused a wave of the monster, but as a result, his family suffered the most. The guys are scared to get their crystals that they got from the monsters. The Bai family had 25 crystals, the Nangong family had 28 crystals, and the main character had the same number of crystals for each, 5 pieces. Therefore, the elder asked for forgiveness. The third principle understood that he immediately received the crystal, which he received thanks to his strength, to thank him and defeat the main character. Everyone from the family and the main character asked for forgiveness from their head. Apparently, she actually only has 3 crystals. They decided to give all their earned crystals to the main character just because he saved them. And only one main character received about 300 crystals. The head of the family explained that despite the fact that her brothers and sisters and Qin families are good, but regardless of the result, the main thing is that they returned safe and sound. So the men asked the elder Ye to announce the results. The man understood that Qin Zhang deliberately addressed him to humiliate him. Therefore, the man said that according to the number of recent crystals, the results of the grand tournament this time show that the main character takes first place in crystals. The third prince takes second place, the girl takes third place, and the Bai family also takes fourth place. The head of the Qin family approached the main character to congratulate him on his victory and first place, that he became the best in their family. He won this feat. He will be appointed the first commander of the youth expedition to the family to discover new lands, and he will receive power over his own region of spiritual lands. The main character asked to return back to his city, and why the head of 8 was surprised. He believed that the guy wanted to stay in the capital for spiritual lands. Plus, he's in the top 2 results of the tournament, and he also has a family secret technique. The main character said that they served this question as a family secret technique for the future. When it came to the Spirit Land, he would simply open up a new area in Cloud City. In the future, the main character is going to develop in a cloudy city. It is close to the foggy forest. This is the most optimal choice. The next morning, on the day of departure of the heads of the hero and the capital, the cloud shadows were already waiting for the guys in the city. Besides, they are not such important people, so they decided to quickly leave. But thanks to this visit to the capital, they met many people, and everyone is no longer in, but it is difficult to let go of some of them. Unexpectedly, the essence of people said goodbye to the main character. These were several families, which he successfully saved. 2 people came down to the guys. There was a student of Fen and Tian. They asked permission to join the team of investigators, which you were led by the main character. Permission from the head of the family has already been received. The main character laughed but said that if the guys want to quietly ski with him, listen to the order. There will be dangers ahead of them. So he asked the guys if they were ready. They gave this their blessing and said that they would go even through fire and water, until the end. Afterwards, the guys mounted their horses and rode forward. After half a month of the moon, the hero returned to the city of Cloudy Shadows. He was met there by his old acquaintances, and friends, students, and adults. Since the hero knew that a wave of monsters would fall on the Cloud Wall City in the future, he began building defensive structures in the city. The old man who followed the main character into the city used pills created by the main character, prolonging his life. However, the information that he was a hero had previously taken control of the Misty Forest, bringing many benefits, even the strength of other clans, causing their attention. Now the other 4 major families and influential forces had also begun to explore Cloud Shadow City, and now it had begun to have a real mixture of different interests. On the outskirts of the Misty Forest, the main character understood that now all large families are starting to develop the Tumanov Forest. Full stop, whoever is the first to occupy the spiritual lands inside the forest will receive huge benefits. But fortunately, thanks to you, I remember from a past life. He knows the location of the spiritual lands. You are in the fog in the forest. Now they have the power to take them over. The main character ordered all the guys to be like, but other participants came to meet them. One of them said that the path they wanted to take was already closed. This was the 5th squad mastering the Situ family, the appearance of the squad leader, the 9th level of body strengthening. Just when the guys wanted to start fighting, the main character stopped 2 groups of the group. The main character decided to give the guys a map. After all, he didn't want to upset them today. The main characters were friends with Yulia. Why did he give the card away? But he said that no matter the logs, the path would also be suitable. After all, although the Situ family is an influential force, he is a hero who did not give them a map and fear, but because he just discovered something else. 6 hours later, on the outskirts of the Misty Forest, the main character's student noticed that now the resources of the Misty Forest belong to the one who gets them first. If they come late, they will not be able to take away the spiritual lands and others. But the main character supported the girl, said that everything was fine. In fact, he gave them a map and laid out the route so as not to create enemies. But the main character senses a demonic aura in the forest itself. After all, various monsters really live in this forest. The strength of the monsters in the surrounding area is the same as that of ordinary wild animals. Monsters have enormous power, and if you stumble upon them, the chances of survival are not great. The person who took the main character's card was already completely wounded. He shouted because the garbage was about to eat him, and his entire team was already dead, in 3 hours. The main character noticed that although the route went a little to the side, it was probably ahead. There will be a salt zone of spiritual lands. The main character understood that this was great, because the spiritual lands had not yet been explored by anyone, and there were no problems with advice with the eyes. This is ideal for growing spiritual herbs. They need to establish a permanent base here. Now they can constantly be inside the fog of the forest, significantly saving time. Also, the main character ordered his guys to scatter them in order to scare away the animals, and also that they will make a temporary base here. Only 2 students were discussing the fact that the squad from where they took the map from them did not come first. And apparently they were carrying a map. They were already being watched by a demon of pure art. At that moment, he decided to grab 2 people with his own hands, but the right hand of the protagonist stood up to protect them. Well, at some point the monster began to emit poisonous gas, after which the guy began to suffocate. Then the main character appeared and was able to throw away the garbage. The main character asked all the guys to become this because it was a zombie monster. He understood that the situation now was not good. This zombie monster was very big. His strength was probably the 9th level of body strengthening or even higher. But he didn't understand how a zombie monster could appear on the outskirts of the misty forest. He began to suspect that maybe too many people had recently explored these lands and scared the zombie monster. The main character decided to throw his dagger at the monsters, but unfortunately it split into 2 parts. And at the same time, the main character did not understand why the monster was not hurt at all, because the zombie monster seemed to be unable to be wounded by either a sword or a spear. The main character realized that he was mistaken because this zombie is stronger than he expected, so he is afraid that he has the power of a level 1 great master, after which the main character was able to be wounded. But at the same time, he ordered his guys not to approach. This was not good. His strength now does not correspond to the level of a zombie monster at all. He understood that he couldn't just die like some kind of zombie monster, precisely from his hands. This feeling of imminent death is as powerful as the third prince's battle, but he can't hear. He needs another chance at life. His life shouldn't end here. After all, in this life he came to fight, and he's just not ready to give up. He brought the garbage to the tree to Photius's neck and then began to beat him severely. The main character asked his people to bring iron chains, after which he told the zombie demon to the tree. The main character knew that the monster worse than this zombie was very strong using conventional methods, and it was impossible to kill him. But for now it's just holding him back temporarily. For this is similar to what happened in the Barren Lands. The main character explained that they would deal with the zombie monster later, and now the main task was to build a base. There was no longer any Manhwa forest left around, and a group of people were about to go inside. The main character still had not returned, and this was causing concern. Suddenly the main character appeared after an expedition in the forest, but a man immediately appeared who stole the map from the main character. He couldn't understand why his group died, because the main character's group was still alive. They explained to the man that the main character also met monsters nearby, but their young master defeated him. The man did not understand how this was even possible. For this kid to defeat such a monster, he suspected that the hero himself had simply deceived him. When the guys came back, they noticed that the wall had already been completed, and she was gorgeous, and a girl arrived there. The first was a girl of the 9th level of Qi and Xiao blood. She was the commander of the research group. According to the girl, there was another group of people who wanted to storm the wall. They started to destroy it with their arrows. The protagonist's father appeared and asked who dared to attack the city of Cloud Shadows. The guy answered him, more precisely the commander of the Guild of Fire Mercenaries. He was the 3rd commander, and his name is Sin. The commanders asked the protagonist's father how he dared to make a wall in this city. Then the man replied that he was the defender of the city of Cloud Shadows. Building stone walls is the only way of defense. This is a court in order to protect the city and block the path in the wave of beasts. The father of the protagonist understood that he mercenaries are all body-strengthening experts of the 6th level and above. The main character appeared and immediately threw a dagger at one of the guys, in order to kill his strength due to the fact that someone is trying to harm the father. The commander was surprised and asked the guys who they were. He was sure that the guys could not be killed by several experts, a sense of the level of strengthening the body. The guy himself had a level 8 body strengthening. He only injured a few members of the Qin family. Then I thought that paying for medical expenses in the amount of 1 gold piece was enough. But the one he killed is worth tens of 1,000 gold, at which the hero got angry and hit the guy. Xiao was very surprised. She did not understand how the powerful commander of the Fire Mercenary Guild was killed with 1 blow. She didn't understand who this person was after all. Another man appeared who was disappointed that his people were killing him. He was a Fire Mercenary commander with a level 9 body strengthening. He told the main character that he would regret his action, and will not be able to withstand his rage. The commander decided to attack first, and he wanted to make his sword strike when he jumped right over the main character. Xiao understood that this was bad. The guild commander would not be able to win, but his surprise was interrupted by a blow blocked by the elder. He realized whose strength and power was behind this. The elder destroyed his sword in one fell swoop. By asking questions, she found out what had happened, because she had just left, and something like this had already happened here. The commander immediately recognized the guy. He was a great master. He knew that this would end badly because standing in front of him was the legendary old man from the Qin family. The commander immediately knelt down, began to beg for forgiveness, and explained that he had no evil intentions. He simply offended one of the minor family members and asked for forgiveness for his actions. The Great Master once again asked the guy if he really called the main character a small member of the family. He was ready to tell him. He touched the one whom they and the family were looking forward to with great impatience. And this is the main character. He is the one who is best left alone in the family now. The commander was shocked. He immediately recognized the guy's name and surname. He had heard about him. This is a great man who took first place in the land development tournament. Xiao also recognized his name. This man won the tournament and became the star of tomorrow in the forest family. A guild of experienced mercenaries has found a strong opponent. The commander asked the protagonist for forgiveness. He said that he was careful enough, and he can kill his people as he wants. But he asked him to ask, yes, the main character presented conditions. The guys must go with their soldiers and go into the dark forest on the spiritual land and clear the surrounding area of wild animals. The commanders decided to ask the criminal hero if he had found spiritual lands, but after the rude answer of the main character, silenced. He was surprised that the Chig family was able to seize the spiritual land so quickly, which large families and mercenary groups cannot find even by racking their brains. Xiao decided to approach the main character and ask if she could join his group to explore new lands. The girl understood that she was ignorant. She hoped that she would not be killed for this. The main character answered positively as long as the girls had no evil intentions and did not greet everyone. She understood that she could join the group so easily, and she was even surprised. She explained that her group was only at the level of Qi and blood. To which the main characters replied that there was nothing wrong with that, and 90% of his team was also at the level of Qi and blood. The girl didn't understand if this wasn't strange people, using only the army of the kingdom of Qi and blood. They actually captured the spiritual land before the people of the body-strengthening realm, and she understood that the hero's moons were actually inhabited, and she said that his team was too strong. She undertakes to devote herself to the good of the hero's team in the future and serve until her last breath and after death. 3 days later in the city medical garden, the main character asked how many days they had not seen the girl. After all, she was already lying unconscious. He immediately approached her and asked what happened. They explained to the main character that this was the work of the 5th group of the Saitu family. They wanted her. And the girl stood up and defended the prey and had the means earlier. The family also told them to hand over the spiritual land within 7 days. Otherwise, they would take it by force, and one of the students understood that there was no other way out. The 5th group has several masters who have achieved body consolidation of the 3rd level and higher, and there are 3 masters sitting in the city. The right-hand man also supported that if the family really wanted to rob their spiritual land, it would be difficult for them to resist them. After all, they only have the river master as a good force who is already old. Then the guys turned to the main character and asked what they would do now. Will they give up the land? The main character was against all this. After all, the guy said that they would capture her in 7 days. 7 days would be enough. He was asked whether he had the knowledge to transfer the spiritual land in 7 days. Well, he answered in the negative because he meant to prepare in 7 days. Their detachment would not have time to contact the main clan. They will fight the Situ family themselves. After all, they cannot be intimidated by one family. There will be other plans to attack them in the future. And don't talk about any loss now. The main character was asked what to do next. He said that it was time for other families to find out who is now the king of the fog of the forest. After this, for 7 days, the residents of the Qin settlement in the city noticed the strange actions of the protagonist's group. They continued to import materials from the spiritual land back and forth, and did not seem to perceive any serious threats from the Situ family. Everyone believes that the main character's family are just pretending to hold on, and in the end they conquered the spiritual land, and even the commander of this family himself simply ate and laughed, because this time he gathered a detachment, and the main characters, according to him, were weaklings, and they will definitely obey them. However, after 7 days, the Qin family did not submit as everyone expected. The STU group that was smilingly awaiting the transfer of land, now you are furious, and are preparing to seize it by force. They have already entered the fog forest. Yun, a person with 9th level body strengthening, was the deputy commander. 5th group. After all, the man was aware that there was only one great master in the protagonist's family before he began to act. The man was ready to come in and destroy his entire family and spiritual land. The guys came to go forward. One of the people approached the deputy and began to report that there was no need to continue like this. because he personally saw that the family abandoned the land and ran away when he was conducting reconnaissance. And they, in his opinion, probably expected that the guys would run away when they saw this. The guy pointed his finger at one place, because people from the family had built a fortification here, and they were probably planning to resist them. Therefore, the deputies considered the complete hero to be just an ordinary coward who was afraid of him, and the coloring showed the side of the thing that was cool next to the tree. People began to look at it, and then the deputy began to laugh very loudly. He could not believe it could be a treasure that the family did not have time to pick up by running too quickly. Therefore, he ordered the entire detachment to go inside and dismantle this thing. The men also said that from now on this land will be assigned to them. This is sure to be a great feat. Just before the man could finish speaking, he heard a scream. Then he turned around and saw a zombie monster. He didn't understand how the monster ended up here. He immediately started attacking the guys. He immediately realized that he had fallen into a trap. Therefore, he ordered his guys to urgently flee, but the gate through which they entered was abruptly closed. The zombie began to scatter people left and right. Then the main character watched everyone with a grin. The guys really went inside their glory. They did not respect their family. It was worth all their efforts. The garbage was specially tied by the main character with iron chains to a tree. It is capable of destroying many who are at the level of strengthening the body. The main character said that a rabbit can also bite if provoked. One zombie monster can't handle it. Now we will sleep when the tiger is released into the mountains. A group of people saw that the gate was open. When the guys wanted to get out, they were met by the main character, who was already with bows. Of course, the deputy was happy because their master did not come. And these people, in his opinion, are not even able to kill any of them. The deputy understood that they all had a level of body strengthening of the 3rd level, and above, this would be easy for him. The guys suddenly began to receive shooting wounds, and the deputy understood that this was very bad because the main character really used a strategy in which they concentrate so many people, wash one of them, and then help. The main character again stood with his bow drawn around his enemy, and he ordered an attack after that. They were able to kill one person. Otherwise, they started hiding again. The deputy understood that they were sharpening their fire on him. They want to take advantage of the terrain and take them out one by one. He ordered his guys that they couldn't let them kill them like that. Rather, they needed to be pursued. The guys were already running after the archers. They were close. He already started laughing at the main character and told him to accept his death. But behind them were more archers. The main character's right hand laughed. He even won a bet from the main character. After all, as he said, there is no need to overestimate the mental abilities of this group of fools. But the deputy also started laughing. After all, he noticed that they only have 4 people strengthening their bodies, the rest are just trash. And you can come as much as you like, they still won't be able to compare with their team. The main character noticed that there was no need to look at them from a high point, and he began to say loudly that everyone around them should split into a group of 5 people and need to focus on one person. The deputies also began to laugh, because the group of people was very weak. They can follow the servant, these are just light injections for them. They started to attack, after which arrows flew at them, which easily protected them, and only the last deputy remained. He understood that this situation was beyond imagination. He did not understand how these weaklings could destroy both the team and the smartest fighters. The main character asked the guy if even on the threshold of his death he could not understand what happened. 7 days ago, there were indeed a lot of chi and blood people in their room. During these 7 days, the main character used countless quantities of spiritual herbs from the new land, producing large batches of spiritual pills to strengthen the body for days and nights without interruption. After that, they continued to force the team members to consume spiritual pills to strengthen their bodies. If 1 didn't work, they tried. If 10 didn't work, they tried 100. This way, even if the effectiveness is low, they can still set a powerful force with a large amount of body strengthening pill. Although even his team will strengthen the body of the 1st level, they have a chance to win. The deputy understood that if they continued, he would obviously die, and he had no choice, so he started screaming to be saved. 3 people appeared as the main character from above. These were 3 secondary ones. They represented the elite of the Situ clan, a team of outstanding warriors, but a group of newcomers from the Chin clan lost, so they were shocked by this. Kirova was surprised that the clan masters were interfering, but the deputy commanders greeted the elders, and he asked the master for his killed comrades, and the main character killed everyone in the squad quickly and painfully. Initially, the Funs did not want to interfere into the struggle among the young, but once they interfered, Then they decided to show how to exterminate the vile members of the Qin family. The representative of the elders asked the hero if he was now the youngest representative of his family. They knew about him and said that he would die today, so one of the elders was already ready to touch the main character, and the hero himself, except that it was very fast. But then a great master from the Qin family appeared, who was able to block the blow. The old people immediately knew the great master because 30 years ago he was a truly outstanding master. But after what happened to his family, his life and strength must be running out. And they understood this perfectly. That's why they started attacking him. Only Rai understood that the legend about how the great master was once invincible would collapse today. Well, surprisingly, with the help of only one cry of the great master, he was able to push back his enemy. He said that the burp had finally come out, and she noticed her opponent about what he said, that it was as if the great master was able to correct himself. But then the old man immediately suffered a blow, from which the old man even flew away and passed out. It looks like others thought he was dead, and another old man decided to attack the great master. The great master accused the main character of betraying him recently, and that's why his stomach hurt. Now his lost strength suddenly returned, and he was fully prepared to defeat his enemies. The men even warmed up from the fact that I had his strength back because it was very familiar. It seemed he had surpassed himself even compared to the past. It was just hard for him to move at first. It was the deputy author who did not understand how the great master was his strength and still back to the top. We're just out of breath. The main character understood the old man to be his main trump card, and when it comes to the foundation of the city of street shadows. In the past 7 days, he had better used his spiritual medicines to help the old man regain his strength. Only the quantity was indeed a little excessive. The guys immediately knelt down in front of the great master and explained that in fact he was not gathering the edge of spiritual resources, they just had small grievances with the main character. The main character approached him and said that since this was just a small grievance, he invited him to arrange a duel between them, not for life and death. Regardless of the outcome, they would close this topic. The student hero approached him because she was worried about her young master. She noticed that the guy had the 9th level of body strengthening and also asked why the master should fight him. But he only asked the girl not to worry. The commander himself understood that he would crush the main character because he was just a weakling. After all, the main character is too arrogant. He called him to jump at the chance, and when the man took up the sword, he sent it to the main character. He started trying to attack the main character, after which the commander caught the main character with his ball, but the one in front evaporated and ended up behind him. The main character said that the guy doesn't need to worry, he's just training on him to master shadow power. The intercessor commander himself did not understand how this was possible, since the main character was only at the first stage of hardening, but he really played with him using his image. If he cannot even distinguish the shadows of the hero, then he will certainly lose. Therefore, he asked the main character to fight honestly. Then the deputy in an instant found himself next to the main character and hit him with the ball, but he was able to block it. Madara also explained that his family's secret technique is the art of the energy of the dead. Then he used the energy from the bodies of the squad members to temporarily increase his skills and avoid being chased. The great master was asked to save the main character, but I was sure that there was no need to worry about him. After all, the main character is now deliberately plunging himself into mortal danger, and its goal is to seek certain sensations. The main character asked the deputy commander if he could kill him. The great master noticed that the main character told him that he had discovered that he seemed to have a secret power. He suspects that this can only manifest itself on the verge of death, so the main character used the enemy to train his skills all the time. Deputy Commander Volodya Leon says that the main character uses him for training as if he were a doll. After all, the man had reached the level of masters, so he didn't understand how he could strengthen someone's body in Peru. The man understood that it was impossible because he needed to put in all his efforts and he had to kill the main character. Well, the main character just got angry and told the guy that if he sees him and notices him, then he immediately needed to kneel down, after which the deputy commander did the same. He was afraid of the hero's clown aura. The man did not understand what the pressure was. Why just one word, and he felt a vague fear. He simply cannot resist his orders. Then the man agreed to stay and said that he would not fight anymore. He, as the deputy commander for land development and the Situ family, promised the main character that if that athlete would kill him, it won't be any better for him. The main character didn't care anymore. He simply grabbed the guy by the throat. Iz squeezed him very tightly, and the main character was infuriated that he would not only kill the guy, but this time all the members and his group would have to die. After which he, the hero, pressed the guy straight into the ground. So another group of this family already appeared, after which the main character instantly killed them. The protagonist's student was simply surprised. Her squad was completely destroyed, and her master was on a new level. And he himself said to the heroes that this is the end. Today it is necessary to spread all the fire to destroy the fifth group. The great master himself was satisfied with what he had just seen. He called the main character their real wealthy families. The main character understood that I was washing there only when he was on the verge of death. This power not only makes it stronger, but also studies the terrifying mons, makes the hand feel fear. When he uses it, he feels that he becomes a completely different person, and he didn't understand what kind of power it was. A month later, the main character's detachment defeated the fifth group. This news grew everyone. No one knew how the small detachment of the hero's leaders was able to defeat a stronger detachment. The Situ family, who began to forcefully seize the spiritual lands, were ultimately destroyed in a retaliatory attack. Now they have no choice but to admit defeat. And the heads of the family were simply shocked by this news. Many in the city of Cloudy Shadows did not respect the protagonist's group. But after this event, everyone knows that the family of the protagonist is a rising Leo, and the Lie Down must respect them. Everyone celebrated this new event together. The hero noticed that the quartz previously were now barely very tasty. Xiao also told the main character about another event, because the imperial family made a coup in the mouth of the immortal palace of Yao. Now the palace belongs to them. The main character was shocked by this news. He brought up that the changes in the palace that were supposed to happen several decades later in the previous life happened earlier. And he did not understand what would happen in this case to one of the girls he knew from a past life. A few days later, in a foggy forest, the main character was going to seal his spiritual lands. The main character stood in front of the plants and realized that the assimilation was too easy, which led to the accumulation of former income, and they were partially sold. As the main character ran in, his assistant said that the one who manages their minds had brought a chemist with him before the visit. He said that he wants to buy Alexei. Huge benefit. 30 people came, and also the most important between them is the elder of the Bai clan. He heard that the main character had low prices for pills. He came here to buy them. The main character only noticed the girl who he had mentioned a couple of days ago. Well, he immediately decided not to pay attention to it, and he turned to the elders, asking what he wants to buy. The elder replied that he wanted to buy pills to stop the bleeding. The main characters answered that they don't have it. The decision made him angry because the first-class anti-bleeding elixir can quickly stop bleeding when injured. They should have had such basic pills. Therefore, I understood how this store could be called good. But the main character said that he has other pills. Of course, they didn't have any anti-bleeding pills, but they could offer an elixir of vitality. With a decision, he was surprised by the fact that the second-class era life war not only stops bleeding, but also quickly stops blood loss. They are much more powerful than bleeding control pills. It was also decided to ask how the main character killed such a thing. After all, this was the first time he had seen such pills. The main character said that he had too many spiritual herbs in the spiritual land, so it wasn't even worth collecting first-grade herbs. That's why they didn't have a grade. The men understood that, however, the quality of this batch of life pills was uneven. At first glance, it was clear that they were not made by a professional. So he wants to buy them, but he can negotiate. The main character turned to the men and said that although the pills were good, unfortunately his skill in making pills left much to be desired. So he wanted to lower prices. And the main character answered him, was it really the eldest? The quality of their pills is excellent. If he decides, he might organize a competition. He, the hero, wanted to bet with the person he met that if he couldn't lead him, he would sell him the pills at half price. But if he wins, he will buy them at the market price. The men immediately agreed with this, and he understood that even though the quality of the main character's antennae was slightly inferior, well, after all, these were only second-class pills, and he could buy them at a low price, he would become an honored member of the sect. It's time for competition. People around were watching the main character and the eldest, and the man understood that he had been making pills for 10 years. Making pills in half an hour was his unique skill. He uses a portable high-quality alchemical furnace to get pills even faster. Then he realized that the main character, today his clan will have to sell him pills at a discount. Well, I saw how he is a hero, how he prepares food for pills. In a moment I was able to get the base of the pills, and at the same time he was also making pills with me. It looked like he was frying vegetables. But from his look of fatigue, it seems that he has done too much and cannot cope. That I'm the main character pretending. Otherwise, he is not a pill master. The juice just needed to finish cooking and it would definitely win. Here the main character said that everything is ready. After half an hour, the differences between the old man and the main character were huge. The elder only had 3 pills, but the main character had more than 100. The old man understood that the pill that the main character prepared turned out to be of ideal quality. And because of his attitude, all the pills he made turned out to be defective. The old man can't believe that the main character made the liuli that he wanted to sell to him. And then he explained that he prepared this type of liuli, and his student still had a lot of grass, so he just gave it to her and let her practice according to her keen aspirations. After all, the younger generation makes its modest contribution. The man was surprised because he allowed his student to practice on such rare herbs, and they didn't even have such an attitude in the sect. The man even agreed to buy pills for double the price, only asked to be accepted as a student. But the main character immediately refused him and told him to take something, but he could teach him the cooking method. However, he had one condition. He asked to give one favor, which he'd known for a long time. The girl herself approached him and asked what he wanted. This was the main character's room. He noticed that the girl was just a servant who was accidentally bought along the way to look after the capital. Well, the main character called the girl by name. Xiao Shuang, he knew that even if she dyed her skin black, she would still be able to recognize her. The girl was surprised because she didn't understand how the main character knew about this. The girl herself was the mistress of the lunar grotto. The main character asked her not to worry. She killed a family member, fled to another family, and now she is wanted. The main character told her that he wanted to help. After all, what is life about? This woman helped him many times. Without her, in his previous life, he might have died earlier. And in this life, he made sure to ask her in order to repay her debt. Suddenly, the guys heard a voice from the window. He called Mr. and said that he had just burst in. Members of the patrol guards from Ye's family. They say that they have come to a wanted woman. The woman believed that this was all the main character's plan. His general took out his hand to attack him. Well, he was able to grab his hand and stop her. And then he said that now she was seriously wounded, and she would not be able to do or resist anything. If she wants to survive, she must listen to him. He ordered her to undress. SMA family guard officer. I already knew that a foreign woman had come to the main character's family, and so the officer wanted to find her. She understood that the family of the main character would be considered a malicious lawbreaker if he hid the girl. Therefore, she quickly broke down the doors of the main character and saw his bed behind the woman. The officer told the main character that the girl who was lying next to him was very suspicious of the one she was looking for. Therefore, she decided to check, but the main character did not allow her to do this at first. After all, he said that it was possible his woman and then the officer was mistaken. But that's why he wanted to check if this woman was the one they were looking for. When the officer removed the bed, she saw an ordinary girl. She didn't understand because in the wanted list it was written that on top of the woman there were injuries left during the escape. They could not be hidden. But this woman had no injuries. Therefore, I decided to check its development. If there were no traces of training either, then the officer realized that she was simply mistaken. The main character asked if the officer had calmed down. She couldn't believe that it all happened like that. In fact, her injury did not disappear. The main character understood this perfectly well. It was just that he had recently, but not on purpose, and the powder that hid the severe damage to her skin. He even gave her the princess pill, which had not yet appeared in this era. She also hid her level of training, and then the officer said that he would go. Well, the main character stopped her. These officers made a promise, and she had to fulfill it, because she interrupted the room without warning and made a mistake like that. The woman called the main character a low-grade family member. And don't hold your nose. As soon as the woman finished those words, the protagonist hit her and threw her far away. Then the main character raised the smaller woman, and she immediately asked what he was going to do. He claimed that the woman had attacked his girlfriend as well. He will count to 3, and she must bow to him and apologize. In front of the girl, she began to make sure that her head was united from her body. The woman had no intention of doing this, after which the moon hero hit her again. He started counting. Su woman understood that the strength of the protagonist was insanely great. She knelt down and began to apologize. The girl herself asked to forget about her body, and she also asked in what sense the main character had the right to call her his girlfriend. He explained that it was an acting game. Everything is of course with her character, and 1,000 torments await him when she recovers. The officer was already on the street, and she understood that this clan of the protagonist was too shameless. It would really make her angry. Then she bumped into a tree. Someone was hiding. She expected that it was there that the criminal was hiding, but the guys heard the officer's voice. Who shouted these? Her beautiful face was injured. She explained what just happened ruined her face, and she will definitely make the main character clan pay the price. Then the main character simply pressed her to the wall. Then the guys ran outside. We saw many corpses and carcasses of animals. The woman did not expect something from the garbage to turn out to be so sewing, that it could have consequences. The main character understood that this was horror. Judging by the tracks, the garbage seemed to be moving towards the city on a cloudy wall. Stupidity 3 went into the thick of the forest to clear a vacant lot and would not have time to return. If just that one piece of junk was gone, he might be able to deal with it. But he had a secret skill. But the last time he had time to install it, so that he would not reveal them. But if he is a friend, use your skills in the city. The monster had already been approaching the city for some time now. He understood that this would lead to all the problems, but the officer herself began to ask the hero Lana not to tell anyone that she had liberated the bridge, which had destroyed many people, in which case she could be driven away. But he ordered the woman to just get out. The main character ordered his assistant to convey the letter to Sanchu through the blue. He was introduced in the city of cloudy shadows. Let him protect the people of the people. And now the main character told the girl that he was going to prepare materials for the confrontation. After that, she must be with him throughout the entire time, because he is going to protect her. The girl is actually surprised because initially she thought that she was hiding her identity, which means that she was hiding from being wanted. But now this man has discovered her. She is without a place. In the city of cloud shadows there was nothing but panic. The monster had already entered inside and began to destroy everything left and right. The third prince appeared with his squad and told the people from the city that someone was planning to go to Tupita instantly. The whole third prince accidentally dropped into the city for fun, and he had such luck. Then he offered to help the guys kill this monster. Gender of people. From different families, they were ready to help the third prince. The main character's assistant asked the prince why not organize the evacuation of people, but he simply ignored the assistant. We all decided to get in together. The prince himself is ready to hit the monster with his ball directly at the head. Why did he fall powerless? People already thought that the third guy was able to defeat him, but the only one who was reasonable was the main character's assistant, who shouted that he couldn't be killed so easily by his master, the main character. He needed to figure it out himself, because he once said that if you don't stop the demon from falling in time, he will activate forbidden techniques. One of the people who helped the prince noticed that this was funny, because it was worth seeing how the representative of the protagonist's family behaved. Yes, the monster got angry with her and even managed to prohibit her very loudly. 3 to press, of course, did not give this meaning. But at one moment, a much larger and scarier monster appeared behind the principal, after which the prince received a blow from him, and he flew very far away. He realized that one blow, and he lost his ability. He is probably at the level of a second-level Grand Master. The others tried, of course, to attack this monster, but at the same moment the weapons were broken, after which he could throw these people away with a movement of his hand. Everyone began to quickly run away from there. They understood that the third prince had not been convinced by others, and you need to run away as quickly as possible. The very first debris also rose, and they decided to attack people. Only one monster wanted to kill a man here in his defense in the pillar of the main character's assistant. He couldn't imagine harming anyone. He hoped that his corpse could be handed over to the family of the main characters. Earlier, the young master sent him a dove for a letter and ordered him to protect this city. Now everyone here can rely on him. And he simply could not allow any harm to be done to people. Of course, the guy was confused by the monster, but at the same moment his sword simply broke, and the guy himself received serious damage. With the last of his strength, the guy tried to hold back the monster's leg. He promised his master that he would definitely save people's lives and wait for his arrival. The monster did not wait and began to deliver crushing blows directly to the assistant's back. It was very painful for him, and he understood that this was his chapel. The third prince himself understood that he had not succeeded in defeating the monster. He only received one blow and could no longer move, and the person and family of the protagonist at the initial level, strengthening the body after such a blow, universally exploded. So he was surprised. The main character's assistant was discarded again. He understood that he couldn't do it anymore. He had always been a coward, and this time he decided to stand up and fight. Perhaps he did not want to disgrace his master. But then, right before the final blow of the monster, the main character appeared and was able to save him. The assistant immediately began to apologize to the young master for not being able to do more and keep the monsters away. But he replied that there was no need to apologize. He gave birth to excellent vomiting. He bought enough time for the guys. And now the main character got even more angry and asked to entrust this work to him. He asked to go straight to the monster. The third prince watched this. He understood that it was useless. The strength of the protagonist is limited to only the first level of strengthening the body, and the weapon is useless against the monster. He understood that the protagonist would not be able to cope with it only with the strength of his body. But to his surprise, the main character was able to inflict serious damage with his hand directly into the monster's jaw. The third prince did not understand how it was possible, how a little hero could defeat the monsters with one blow. At the same moment, a second monster appeared and began to attack the main character. After the main character was hit, he flew very far away, as the third prince expected. If the main protagonist of the servants is not the son of a powerful undead, he will not be able to win. He believed that he was a hero who was about to die. Well, the main character didn't have a single scratch. The main character ordered his right hand to bring the pill, after which the main character took out a sword from it. Of course, the third prince understood that this useless weapon could not harm him. With one critical hit, the main character was able to inflict good damage on the monster. Why did it start to burn? The third prince was surprised that he was a hero who could kill this monster so easily. He did not understand where the main character got such strength. The main character knew that conventional weapons were useless against him. Therefore, he brought with him prepared pills to strengthen the body. The body-strengthening pill can cause special fire, which scares this monster. And this was a special pill that he made to destroy zombies and demons. The very first monster began to run away. After seeing the death of his ally, the main character has already thrown his blade to the monster. After all, the main character had to pay for the island in full. He also dealt several more blows to the monster, throwing 100 blades at him. He understood that the two zombie demons were already dead, but for some reason he felt that even more dense demonic energy was approaching. All the people were happy that the main character was able to cope with the monster. When people wanted to approach the main character to thank him for saving them, he stopped them and said that a more terrifying threat was now approaching. He feels that demonic energy is still flying around. A girl was watching from the tree right behind the main character because she didn't expect that the main character would actually be able to win, and he has some powers. But now no one is paying attention to her, and she will take advantage of this house and just leave. But then a terrible demon appeared in front of her. The monster grabbed the girl's hand. It was the king of the same type of words of the protagonist. Apparently the king below the third level of the Great Master was now planning to destroy them all. The girl noticed the officer behind her, and the girl herself understood that only now she did not activate her power, her skill. She might miss her chance to escape, but people who were ready to draw her were next to her, and they can detect it. Only the monster wanted to kill the girl. She had to use her ability because death awaited her anyway. She can only risk her life. But then the main character appeared and hit the monster because no one dares to offend his girlfriend. The main protagonist grabbed the girl and ordered her without revealing his ability. After all, he said that he could protect her. She suffered a serious injury, and this undead king was also attracted by her blood. He wants to eat her to increase his skill level. And even if the girl wanted to run away, he advised her to choose routes that did not lead through the forest. And you should worry, even though the king of the undead is targeting her, he will help her. The girl was surprised that the main character would do everything for her alone and only. The main character understood that the pills had already lost their properties, and he should sweat a little. Unexpectedly for the main character, the monster attacked him and hit him very hard, pinning him straight to the ground, after which he immediately threw himself out into the air. The girl didn't understand why he was a hero risking his life for her. He remembered his past life. The wave of monsters was already approaching. He needed to leave quickly as an alchemist. The girl also begged him to leave here. The hero, of course, did not want to leave. But the girl told him that the goal of the demon clan is the alchemist himself. The world still needs him to be an alchemist to oppose the demon clan. And after the last battle, the girl was already dying. She understood that they would come now. If she stays here, she may still delay them for the main character. He didn't want the girl to die. In a past life, he settled down for the good of the world, a girl, but in the end he lost both her and the whole world. Therefore, in this life, he would not allow this to happen again. He understood that he could no longer lose the girl. The main character got angry. And why did his eyes even turn red? He hit the monster straight on the head. Why did he fly far away? But he was a hero who didn't want to stop, and he delivered another series of blows. With your bare hands. Two girls watched this. The protagonist's girlfriend did not understand where the protagonist shrouded his body in a fiery aura, and he did it all for her sake, even at the cost of his life. Other people from the city also watched this. They are very surprised that the main character was actually able to cope with the monster. When the main character turned around to find his girlfriend, he did not find her. But a second later, she was next to him and pressed his hands. She wanted to help him get up. He asked her why she didn't leave, but she replied that she should not do this. After all, he bought it. And also the young master said that she was his woman. In fact, she had the opportunity to leave, but for some reason she herself didn't understand why she didn't leave, before she was going to become the next ruler of the palace. Her mother forced her to be strong since childhood. Having been born, she never tried for a moment of peace, but this time she was protected by the main character. Somehow he has an unknown power that calms her heart. At least in the future she will have to lead her palace. But for now she wanted to remain the main character and then an assistant, and hundreds of people approached the guys. They thanked the main character for saving them. And they were also very worried about him. Suddenly the main character saw something huge. It was a huge statue, which was moving straight towards him. He did not understand when this mountain managed to appear. But when they arrived, not a few seconds later, the hero saw nothing, and people did not understand what the main character was looking at. Later, the lunar hero remembered that the mountain, just now, is the legendary great monster Earthly Mother. It was clear to him why demons have been appearing so often lately. In a past life, the Earthly Mother was a kind of monster, superior to demons. She has the ability to control poisonous insects and undead creatures. And besides, the Earthly Mother can arbitrarily take on the appearance of the terrain. She can be a mountain peak, or she can be a plain. This is a great monster, capable of the art of camouflage. The birth of the Winter Mother in a previous life also marked the awakening of a great demon who destroyed the city of demons. Plans. The hero understood that perhaps the great demon who destroyed the city of demons was about to complete his resurrection. After all, the past life of the earth unexpectedly attacked humanity when a demon was resurrected in the city of demons. It was after this battle that the vitality of the human race was seriously undermined, and the subsequent human race, step by step, moved towards destruction. The main character did not fully understand why she appeared and then disappeared. He understood that in order to cope with a catastrophe in the future, he needed to prepare in advance. And a few days later, the scandal that the three princes almost killed the inhabitants of Cloud Shadow City to attract attention spread throughout the entire dynasty. On the street, these people discussed this very loudly, and the news of the main character destroying 3 master-level monsters with his body strengthening also shocked the entire dynasty. The main family of the main characters was about this in the story. The great-grandmother wanted the hero to return to the capital in the future for his development. But the main character refused and exhaled with 2 requests. The main character's first request was to ask his family to propose to the 5 great families to speed up the strengthening of military power to produce the upcoming demon invasion. Second, the main character wants to be able to enter the Dange. That's right. It was the largest mime organization of the dynasty and had strict rules. Normally, if disciples of the 5 major families wanted to enter the pavilion, they would have to start from childhood. But the grandmother saw that the main character brought glory to the family. She used all her relationships and connections to get the main character a place in the pavilion. Then, a month later, at the academy itself, the main character was welcomed as a new student. He greeted everyone and said that it was time to get acquainted. One of the students noticed that the protagonist's family is the weakest among the 5 main families, and it seems that there are no students or family in the pavilion right now. In the alchemy pavilion, 5 major families send their students here to become masters of alchemy. The hero's plans did not come here for this. He is here to get the treasures of the cave under the pavilion. Demon Sword. It is said that the demonic sword was once the weapon of the demon emperor who fell in ancient times, and its power has miraculous effects on the demon clan. If Mother Earth and the great beasts attack the mountains, then the human race will only be able to resist with the demonic sword. However, at the moment no one is capable of lifting this sword. The academy uses the demonic energy emanating from the sword to temper the spiritual power of alchemists. This time he must get the demon sword no matter what, because this will determine the future of humanity. But the teacher asked the main character that even if she made an exception for him and he joined the class, he should listen to her, and don't get distracted. The teacher also called him trash, but the main character denied that the hero was just thinking about how to get into the crypt. After hearing all the students together, they started with the main character. After all, it is only high-level students who show off their mental strength, and he just wants to go there. Even the teacher got angry and said that usually students must train hard for 3 years until they reach adulthood before they can hope to become high-level students. Only then will he be able to enter the crypt. After all, he has just arrived and immediately wants to do what others have been trying to achieve for years. The heroes explained that he had just listened to what the teacher was explaining. Then she asked how the pill refining method that she had just learned worked. Everyone, if he could tell her, it would be easier. And if not, he will kneel. The teacher understood that what she hated most was a bunch of losers who use their power to enter the pavilion and live a full life. She promised the main character that he would regret coming here. The main character didn't want to be polite. After all, the teacher could not maintain her expression. He asked for an apology, but she was not worthy of his retelling, because he only listened a little and discovered that there were 20 errors in it. The hero said that it was pointless to just talk and showed a new chemical furnace. He just wanted to show the guys how it's done. The students continued to laugh at the main character because people were not convinced that he knew how to make pills. They have been studying for this for more than 10 years, and now they can only sense medicinal liquids. The teacher understood that if he couldn't do it later, she would humiliate his arrogant face. The main character noticed the teacher's first mistake. She lit a small fire because she was afraid to burn the medicinal materials, so he made the fire hotter. The heroes explained that the small flame caused medicinal properties, moreover. Adding the elixir took a long time, and she missed the best time to add it. The teacher was shocked at how the lunar hero handled herbs. She suspected that he was just showing off. She was following a recipe that had been passed down for hundreds of years, and she simply could not go wrong. The main character created a pill, but the teacher didn't believe it. She said that it was impossible. She would need several hours of refining to produce a good quality pill. It must be an empty pill if he made it so quickly, that was her opinion. But when she came closer, she was shocked. She knelt down and said that this pill was of perfect quality. The teacher was angry because the hero humiliated her in front of all the students. Only the teacher wanted to swing her hand to hit the main character. But the main character hit the nail on the head. He noticed that the girl often has trouble sleeping and diarrhea, after which she stopped her blow. And he was very surprised. He even blamed the fact that after the dedication of the toilet, she had an unbearable smell and often felt tightness in her chest. Until now, development has become more and more painful. After all, in fact, she should already have had a premonition that she would soon die. The girl was surprised how the guy knew so much about her illness. The hero said that she has a way to cure her illness, but she's yawning over him, so he'd better forget about it. Then the woman knelt down and began to beg the main character to save her. She is ready to fulfill any condition he asks. The woman also apologized again, louder than the previous time. Then the main character promised that you would write her a prescription one of these days. Several guys were sitting not far from the main character when he sat back down, but they didn't understand that the main character knows a lot, and they wanted to get to know him, and tell him who's boss here. Already on the street, he understood that classes were over, although he was not yet ready to go. But first he will go and see where the crypt itself is located. Already on the street, the main characters were met by those same guys, and they invited him to meet everyone. The main character was explained that their eldest, this Judith, is the brother of the third prince. The newcomer, the main character, if he wants to be in the top class, he must lick the shoes of their older brother. The elder also explained that he has a third-level body strengthening, and the main character does not want to become a cripple today. It is better to come up and lick his shoes. The main character pinned the guy to the ground with one blow. The main character was surprised that some guy was trying to scare him. He even dares to insult him. Then the classmates' subordinates tried to attack the main character with weapons, but the main characters at the same time put all these guys to dry land. Then the elder stood up and was about to take the weapon. He called the main character a coward because he attacked him on the sly. And then the guy decided to get on the main character. Well, then a woman appeared who decided to stop the guys. She advised them to stop immediately before they hurt anyone again. It was the head of the courtroom, the first disciple of the pavilion, first-level body strengthening. The people around didn't expect senior sister Xue to come here. After all, she is the protector of the weak, and they didn't expect the main character to run away. But at some point, the elder decided to attack the main character and pointed his sword at him. The main character hit the guy right in the groin with one naked blow. Why did the guys contort their faces and fall in pain? The main character decided to leave. Everyone saw it wet. He attacked him first, and he simply defended himself. The woman understood that the senior Wuzhang, who is at the 3rd level of body strengthening, is a headache for their hall, and this new student dealt with him. So she decided to contact him, with the fact that he just insulted the guy. If he wants to be safe, he can join their hall. All the students were delighted because the courtroom never accepts him from among the men, and as soon as he enters the hall, it will be difficult for others to touch him. The main character thanked the girl for her kindness, but she replied that she preferred solitude. The girl herself was embarrassed by this. She came here just now after hearing that he could refine the perfect pill, but she didn't expect that the martial arts heroes were also good. She definitely wanted to get the main character. Entrance to the pavilion's dungeon. The main character was standing right in front of him. He felt incredible pressure even here. But this was also the power of the demonic sword. Well, to enter there, he must first pass a test and become an advanced student. In 3 days, there will be a test for senior students, which is held in 3 years. In order to cope with the demon's revival in the future, he must hurry up and throw away this sword. He realized that no matter what, he needed to pass the exam for advanced students. The teacher did not understand what the main character wanted from her. It was impossible. Fellow students had to live here for 15 years before they could pass the exam, and the main characters were here for only a few days. The main character noticed that he doesn't care if she wants him to cure her illness, she should give him the opportunity anyway. She won't be cured. The teacher immediately agreed. She remembered that there was an elder from the pavilion who always had a good impression of her. The moon hero decided to leave immediately and thanked the girl for her kindness. During the exam itself, students were told that in order to take part in the advanced student exam, students must enter the pavilion at the age of 3 and study hard for 15 years to qualify. This new disciple is the main character, has only tried here for a few days, and he can go there. A man appeared who noticed that the guys were probably unhappy with the fact that this boy had only been here for a few days, and received the opportunity that he had been waiting for more than 10 years. And yet, he dares to flirt with the woman he likes. Fortunately, he is a member of the commission, so the test, if he is a hero, can pass it. He kneeled before him, in front of everyone. The day of the test came. The guys were all in the arena. The elder called this test everyone's dream, and one more step towards becoming a real master of alchemy. In addition, becoming a senior student also means that in an hour they will be able to get better materials for development. The main character stood in this arena like that. He understood that he himself did not expect that he would be able to take part in this Seihi 100,000 years ago. He became interested in how difficult this test is in this era. It was decided that at this stage of testing I could handle the stove. They must record fire control skills as best as possible, and the teachers are closely behind this personally. The man gave the command to authorize the test. The guys began to heat up their stoves. The guys watched the 3rd prince's cousin. They saw how good he was with fire. Even the elder noticed that this is a good skill. And the guy himself understood that now his fire was the biggest, and the new hero's stove had been changed. Now probably the main character looks like a complete absurdity, but it was his stove that looked the brightest. No one understood how this was possible, because one guy specially set the hero's stove to the smallest fire. But fire control technology during this period cleared it up, which the main character understood perfectly well, and the highest fire is only a meter. He offered to just wear it. But his art of fire control is the best in the world. The hero said that a drop of fire is enough for him to create a miracle. One guy wanted to stop the test, and he turned to the elder and said that if the main character can control such a large fire, perhaps there was an error in his testing of the stove. Therefore, the elder allowed us to go and sort out the stove. The man decided to change the stoves of the main character and the 3rd prince's cousin. She seemed to understand that the construction of the stove was wrong, and with the hero's corner he would take away his stove. But when the guy wanted to create fire, he just exploded, and the heroes of the water clan were able to create a bird using fire. Zhu understood that this was a guy. Perhaps he had even increased his fire after replacing the stove, and the main character himself. I didn't think that Wujan was such a fetter. Before he made too small a fire, he could only create a small dragon. Now, with the increase in fire, you can even play with the phoenix. I followed this and noted that it was excellent management art. After all, it is not surprising that teacher Yang made an exception and asked him to join. In this competition, the main character is a well-deserved first place. Zhu then understood that the main character's fire control and his technique were so excellent that people were being blamed for it. The first test is over. The remaining half of the people have advanced. The next stage of the second round is the battle for the pill. Pill fighting competitions require them to control their own pills and avoid the sashimi-controlled iron balls. In the end, if the pills do not hit the iron ball and it falls to the ground, they will not be able to advance further. One man understood that Zhu had a high opinion of the main character. Then he decided to definitely make him embarrassed. The main character understood that this was a classic game of alchemists. Then he will provide them with interesting opportunities to play. The pills began to be destroyed. The main character was able to create a huge pill and asked the elders why they were attacking. People around were surprised. After all, they usually create small pills to make it easier to evade. And he wanted to make her a target. But the guy himself understood that there was nothing terrible there. Apparently, the hero is so scarlet and brave that you only made him an object of public criticism. He decided to get there first. He launched his metal ball straight out. But she just downloaded the floor back. And it broke. Zhu saw that the main character is very smart because he always has his hands. And he really is the person she likes. He ordered everyone to attack the protagonist's pill, and everyone followed his orders. Zhu is shocked that the Serbs are working together to destroy the main character. With so many seniors working together, there is no doubt that he is the hero who will fail. Altogether, the balls simply split apart. This stone pill sent the main character in its purified form. It is stronger than iron. But this is the most useless pill, but right now it comes in handy. Today he must open the eyes of these primitive people who practiced alchemy. Therefore, the main character began hunting for the balls. With your pill, El could no longer allow the equestrian hero to show off in front of the girl, and he had to do something. Since he cannot destroy the pill, he will directly control the protagonist's pill to fall to the ground. Even the main character noticed that he sees how they want to manipulate his pill. The main character allowed this to be done, and he aimed the pill directly at his man. He managed to return to the pill and flew straight into the girl. They just cut out and touched the girl, and then a hero appeared who destroyed her too. The main character turned to the guy who was trying to control his pill. After all, the main character expected that he would set up even a blow to the girl, and he really turned out to be a coward. The elder approached the main character, and he asked the main character himself how he could say that it was his son who controlled the pill. Then the hero decided to provide all the evidence. All the guys are familiar with the art of divine knowledge. Even the elder was surprised because he had never heard of this art. Then the main character decided to tell what it is. He gave an example. What if they want to buy a pill from an alchemy master? But if they want to know if he is the creator, they can activate the art of divine knowledge. Because the residual spiritual forces have been cut out. While the technique is activated, the remaining spiritual power will return to the body, and then it will be possible to find out who influenced this pill. Stair decided to give it a try. He used his pill technique. And I saw two spiritual energies. The main character was the first to return spiritual energy, and the other returned to her manipulator. Of course, the son tried to justify himself to his father and explained that this was all a setup. Well, the father did not listen to his son and hit the club because the masters of the pavilion were urgent to behave this way. The father also ordered his son to apologize to the main character. And the one that he kneeled and spoiled forgiveness. Also, the guy's father apologized for his son and noted that the results of the main character will not lose their significance, and he will still have a better result in the story. Zhu asked the main character what he usually likes to eat. He replied that he didn't like fish, but he didn't know the rest, and so she immediately ran away. All the guys at once, the guys stick it to Elena. It was a disappointment. After all, a girl once said that if she liked someone, she would cook him food. The next day in an underground cave. Now that the hero has become a senior student, he finally has the right to everything. As expected, everyone here was older students. The main character turned to his older brother. I asked him how to get down there and if there were any rules there. The man replied that the only rule here was that the main character bought clothes from him, and then he could go down there. It was the salesman. After all, if they buy clothes from her, they will die there. The men explained that in the pit a creature was suppressed for things. It was not established that it was studying powerful demonic energy. A person who enters there often enough to die or to survive longer in the cave needs training clothes. Everyone must wear clothes that he has designed. Then the main character asked how much it cost. The man replied that they sell clothes for going down into the pit, and he looks at the main character. If he likes him, he won't even take the money. and it will yield 1 million gold. The students began to laugh because no one can afford clothes that cost 1 million gold. The old man himself understood that these clothes cost only 10,000 gold coins, but those Uzians told him to take good care of the main characters. The main character grabbed the man's hand and asked him what he thought, whether he could talk to him in such a tone. The main character's Estella 1 million gold bill, with the royal seal, and it was not real. The main character, the muse, will earn money by selling his pills. The man just wanted to give his clothes for this money, that is. Well, the main character hit the boss and threw him straight into the ground. The main character replied that no one needs this garbage, and he doesn't need it either. The main character jumped right into it, which made everyone very surprised. In his previous life, he relied on his powerful spiritual power to reach the pinnacle of alchemy. Although his current spiritual power had not yet returned to the extreme level of his previous life, the main character was sure that this demonic influence would do something to him. The main character understood that this was very good. There was psychological resistance. Demonic energy cannot corrode it. The main character agreed below the probe process they wanted to cover it. This plant carries onic energy. Perhaps this plant is a demon. The vine, attaching itself to demonic energy, becomes stronger, prefers to absorb blood and meat, and is extremely ferocious. And if you let it grow freely, it will become proprietary. Demonic vine ability to make a circle of 10 is necessary. The main character could only. The main character began to destroy this plant. He got really angry, but she actually forced the main character to use this power to purify her. However, there are a total of 49 floors everywhere, and there are 31 floors below, covered with vines. He wants to get his hands on a demonic sword, but using force to destroy it is a better option. But mind the hero. Remember that the demonic vine loves flesh and blood. If this is so, then the hero rose back to his own top. To the students, he understood that Mushta would contact the pavilion master to solve the problem. The elder was surprised that the main character wanted the master to let the cart into the academy every day in one piece, and in blood with the faith of animals. The main character promised the old man that he would help him get rid of the monsters. For that, the old man understood that every year there are several fresh blood students who say that they can get rid of monsters. As a result, once he gets there, he remains forever at the bottom of the well. But the main character noticed that he was already there. The master has simply matured. He was very surprised because going down even to the 15th floor is a forbidden zone. He did not have enough time for himself, so the boy shouldn't confess. Then a teacher came into the room and told the master that his record had been broken. Then the man asked who broke his record. And is this really a zoo? The teacher became closer to the main character and told the old man that it was him, and the heroes also asked for 3 more floors. 100 made 18 floors. So the main character asked about the animals. Then he came closer to the main character directly with a joyful face. He asked the newcomer how he managed to reach the 18th floor. The next day, the guys brought dead bodies of animals, to be able to go down every day in the deck. He had just given the pavilion master a big gift, but it was worth it. He agreed along with the monster. It only took 1 day for it to grow a lot. The vine wants to sit down the ferocious beast, but the speed of its ascent has slowed down. Since she wanted to eat this beast. This is the main character who allowed her only first she must obey his order, and every day bring him down to the next level. And she didn't do this. He would not only leave her hungry, but also destroy her. It's very good that you understood his words. This means that Lazada has the power of spiritual intelligence. And in this case, he could try to tame the vine. Before leaving, the heroes told the plant that the road that she opened should not be a closed point. He would return tomorrow. The hero understood that if he could tame her, he would not only be able to wield a sword, will also be able to tame the vine, advanced combat power that can grow. 8 was very angry, as the son of the owner of the pavilion and the future successor of the pavilion. He understood that when in the future he takes over the leadership of the pavilion, the girl he loves, Shui, will definitely open her heart to him. The guy decided to look at what was being discussed during the conference. It said that that time the elders were called to discuss the successor of the pavilion. The guy already thought it was about him, but his father said that they are currently in the early stages of development. If the alchemy pavilion was passed on to his incompetent son, perhaps he would disappear along with him. Therefore, he would like to discuss the position of the pavilion with them all, and so he proposed our main character to take the place of the candidate. El was amazed by these words from his father. Those he met were categorically against it. They found it not inappropriate, even if he was ready to sacrifice his relatives for the sake of justice. They did not understand how the main character could be so virtuous and capable. Only a newbie has been introduced. Elle understood that while everything was in order, the main character was an outsider. He could not take over without making any contribution to the pavilion. But then the elder told him that he was a hero to give them a recipe for 6th grade pills. And he has an alchemy master whose level of skill is difficult to estimate. When they saw the recipe, they were simply shocked. They've never seen anything like this. Ev Pavilion has a history that dates back hundreds of years, and they have a maximum of 1 grade 5 pill recipe. And they had never heard of the recipe for this. Meeting the understanding that if the protagonist can easily give out a recipe for a 6th grade pill, then the master of alchemy, the protagonist, must be a big shot. And they 100% should be friends with him. They understood this completely. Then the master of the pavilion said that for the sake of preserving the pavilion, the rights of inheritance are transferred to the main character. And everyone agreed with this. But his son, who was watching all this, was simply in a terrible state. He could not believe that his father really entrusted this to the main character. Not him. Well, here the main character was already carrying flesh and blood for the plant. He understood that to prove his strength, he wrote the recipe for pills to the pavilion master. But he just remembered today that in this era, there is a maximum of 5th grade fill urine. Maybe he went too far. I offer a recipe for these. The heroes went down to the 5th floor. He immediately gave away the meat of the plant. And she told him that the rules are still the same. He realized that he had fed her quite well for several days, and she immediately became obedient. To his surprise, she even tried to stroke her cheek. And then he realized that it was not in vain that he had been feeding her for the last few days. The plants began to show some affection. So he said goodbye to her, and said that he wouldn't see her tomorrow morning. At this rate, the main characters can easily get a demonic sword. However, in order to cope with the subsequent invasion of the great demon, his thick level of body development is not sufficient. And it seems he needs to find time to perfect the pills that will help him achieve a breakthrough. Elle was practicing in the kitchen, and then Woonjin ran up to him. Well, the guy wanted to hear about the main characters. He understood perfectly well that it was this guy who was coming into the pavilion, and he didn't want to hear about the main characters. Woonjin to the guy that he just found out that the main character pulled out a pill worth 1 million gold from the pavilion, and he secretly ran away over the mountain. In the spring, no one can afford it, and most likely the guy stole it. Elle understood that the news about the theft would be known. How the main character would then be able to become a successor is unknown. As long as the main character can be caught, the pavilion can be returned to his hands. All the students have gathered. They themselves did not understand why and what happened. Woonjin disciples just found out that the main thing was that he stole a pill worth millions from the pavilion and went to the back mountain. Therefore, he knocked them all down to catch the main character. Yell also confirmed the guy and said that when he is caught as a hero, he will be the future head of the pavilion and will help invest in each student. This is what he promised them. Therefore, the guys ran to catch the main character, but he himself understood that now the main character could not escape. The smartest hero is already at the stove. In order to create 6th grade pills that could help him quickly overcome obstacles, it would be okay for him to hide here and practice. After all, the honor accumulated by the 6th grade in this era is also shocking. So it's better not to tell anyone about it. He began to create a pill. Happiness, because 6th grade pills are quite easy to process and it won't take much time. But already at the top of the mountain, the students noticed the main character.